15 teams. We're now down to the Super 16. This is day number 3 of the GKSS Match Cup Sweden, third event on the World Match Racing Tour.
Both boats at full speed is neck and neck. These boats locked together. He cannot believe what has happened. No room! Pulls the spray, barreling down the line.
Says they're coming on the inside. Barkow burying the bow. I think there's contact between the rack and the pole.
The beautiful Marstrand fjord provides breathtaking views for one of the world's top sailing competitions. Steeped in maritime tradition, Marstrand plays host once again to the GKSS Match Cup Sweden, third stop on the 2017 World Match Racing Tour. Hi, I'm your host, Tucker Thompson, along with two-time match racing world champion Simon Shaw.
Thank you, Tucker. It's great to be here. We're here in Marstrand in what is, you know, this event, perhaps the biggest and best Marstrand that I really have ever seen. You know, it has been a bloodbath out there on the water so far, and I cannot wait to get into it.
Absolutely. Here in Marstrand, let's take a look at how we got to this point so far.
Great start.
Coming on, go hard, go hard.
Barkow burying the bow and Sanctioned flipping over. I think there's contact between the rack and the pole. And today they've beaten one of their heroes. Congratulations, Matt Jerwood.
With Will Tiller, Stuart Dodson, and James Rabowski, Phil Robertson is the Match Cup Australia champion. Teams from around the world started this competition yesterday, and Simon, where are we now?
Well, you know, we've come through 20 teams arriving here. We are into that first stage. The 3 groups doing battle in a fleet racing round with only one team being potentially eliminated. Those teams went out onto the water this morning. Price, Monin and Walker to do battle to see who was going to get that final spot in that Super 16 round. It was actually Price that came through that, you know, amazing result for what is a new team on the World Match Racing Tour, just buying 2 new boats down in Sydney, and we're into the Super 16, and we have already seen some of those results unfold here today. Frank Hamas going, Jan Guichard, sorry, going through against, you know, Sally Barkow actually being eliminated, David Gilmore going through against Sally Barkow. So plenty more to come, but, you know, blood already being spilt out there on the racecourse.
Absolutely. And on the racecourse, as you know, we are looking at match racing, but yesterday the qualifying round was all fleet racing. Here Simon Shaw tells us how it went.
So showtime here at the GKSS Match Cup Sweden. First out onto the water was Group 2, where Taylor Canfield of US1 and Matt Jerwood of Redline Racing really topped out that group, looking strong and well practiced.
into Group 2, really the return of the Brit, Ian Williams and GAC Pindar really dominating that with a string of firsts. Carl Langford, tactician from Oracle Team USA, joining that team and in my view really strengthening the boat handling and speed around the racecourse. Finally, Group 3 were out on the water where we saw some of the top teams in the competition, all well practiced, sparring off. The battle between Chris Steele and Phil Robertson really raging out there on the water. That concludes the fleet racing part of the competition. Walker, Price and Monin all finishing bottom in their groups will be going forward tomorrow to face each other in a match racing sail-off to see which one of those three teams will join the remaining 15 into the Super 16 round here in Marstrand.
Well, today looks to be equally as exciting as we're into the Super 16 round, Simon, with some top matchups.
And the wind direction today blowing across the harbour here in Marstrand, so a much shorter course, and particularly up at the top, by that top mark, and we'll see it as the racing unfolds this afternoon. Very shifty and changey conditions. It's where Marstrand is at its most merciless, and I can't wait to see the rest of these matches unfold. But we already have 4 teams ready to fly home, and we're going to see more yet to come.
And this morning I had a chance to catch up with one of those matchups, Matt Jerwood and Nicholas Dackheimer. Today's matchup includes Matt Jerwood from Australia, Nicholas Dackheimer from Sweden. Nicholas, let's begin with you. Tell us what your team's biggest strengths are. I know you have an M32. You've done a lot of training.
Yeah, today, this is our summer and it's Matt's winter, so I guess that will be a benefit for us.
Well, Matt, let's come to you. It's your winter, so what have you been doing to prepare?
In Australia, the water doesn't freeze during the winter, so just trying to keep the skills up, and we've been really working on our starting, so watch out, Nicholas, we're coming for you, Matt.
Gentlemen, good luck today. And so the teams are out on the water getting ready for race number 1. First to win 3, best of 5. And Shawsey, the race course set up this afternoon a bit tighter than we saw for the fleet racing yesterday.
I mean, much shorter legs, putting real pressure on these racing crews. That's the 2-minute gun. And we are underway.
17 in i åttondelsfinalen och nu har vi en svensk på vattnet här. Det är Niklas Dackheimer som seglar för sitt ESSIQ Racing Team i den ljusblå båten.
Well,
och det är Matt Jerwood, Redline Racing i den röda båten. De har precis gatat in här, vilket betyder att det är mindre än 2 minuter kvar till start. Och det är Dackheimer alltså som kommer i en jagande position här nu, Malin.
So less than 2 minutes to go. Coming up on the 1-minute mark, it is Jerwood in orange, Dackheimer in blue.
So Dackheimer is Jerwood in the red boat, just leading down, and the wind has dropped a little bit. Dackheimer coming on to the stern of Jerwood.
Och på det sättet skapar man ju möjligheter
i startsituationen.
Alltså för er som nu har fyllt på här under eftermiddagen så ska vi dra detta hur det funkar då. Vi har en startlinje mellan startbåten och den gula bojen. Där är startlinjen alltså, och det är en dryg minut kvar till start, och sen så siktar man en halvvind bort till det gula märket mitt i banan här ute. Det kallas för halvvindsmärke eller reachmärke på engelska. Sen faller man av ner mot de röda bojarna i gaten här, och sen så kryssar man upp till de gröna. Ner igen, upp igen och sen ner mot målet som är utanför badet där det är kasta livet just nu. Så där har vi förutsättningarna, och vinden håller i sig. Det är den här sydvästliga vinden ganska lätt just nu när Niklas Dackheimer kommer befinner sig i den jagande positionen.
But he is early. Dackheimer has him under pressure. And now going for the furlers. Dackheimer brings his bow down underneath, looking to try and secure a hook. And I think he's got it. Dackheimer bringing his bow underneath the line of Jerwood, who goes up for attack now. Is Dackheimer under the lay line for the pin? Jerwood's looking for the 2 tacks. Final 10 seconds. Dackheimer in the leeward position now, looking to bring his bow down, just trying to fight to stay behind the line. And they're underway, down at the pit end. And a great start there for Dackheimer, forcing Jerwood through the luff, through the tack, and now leading the pair off the bottom of the line across the top of leg 1.
Yeah, beautiful job for the young Nicholas Dackheimer. Local team, arguably you could say that Matt Jerwood is the stronger team. over the Australians, heading into Mark 1.
Well, just look how light it is out there on the water at the moment. You know, both these teams moving significantly slower through the water out there on the race course. Now finally accelerating a little bit of...
Round mark number 1. Dahlmer just holding off Jerwood. But the game is close enough for Jerwood to pounce, particularly Simon, in the next jibe.
Well, bringing his bow down and through the turn. Jerwood looking to attack. And this race course has really fallen away. And Dahlmer
coming into the bottom gates. The game a lot closer than it looks. Jerwood trying to find an opportunity to get back in the match and pounce on Dahlmer. Dahlmer looks as though he's set up for a right-hand turn.
So Dahlmer around, heading off to that right-hand side, looking to try and keep control of this race. So he's in the lead. He has that advantage heading towards the right. But can he hold on to it? I can tell you, this race course here in Marstrand today, particularly now in these afternoon matches, is a wash of pitfalls for these teams to fall into.
So a big split. Jerwood finally rounding. He'll take the left-hand side. This morning, right was favored. Right now, good amount of breeze. Looks as though it might be filtering down from the middle left-hand side of the racetrack. And could that be Jerwood's opportunity to reel in Dahlmer? Dahlmer now has tacked as well, looking to cross on starboard. He has rights under the rules, and so far, so good.
That was a nice gain for Dahlmer, picking up that shift on the right-hand side. We have seen that all the way through the day. And he managing to choose his mark, and he chose wisely. He's turned that into, well, a substantive lead, but just look how big these holes in the breeze are. We're following Jerwood out to this right-hand side, looking to try and pick up a little bit of that breeze, try and find his way back into this match, and there will be opportunities. Over on the left, Jerwood now a little bit light, looking to tack up. Needs to build out of this tack now. Dahlmer looking to try and keep the distance tight. He's going for a bit of an unfurl, and actually, I think going for the full unfurl, looking to use the Jenica to come back. And Jerwood coming in with quite a lot more speed from that right-hand side, so opportunity for Jerwood to attack a little bit here. Dahlmer slow out of the tack, but he's flying the hull, and I think a good decision to deploy that Jenica, getting him out of trouble on the left.
And there is breeze from the upper left, but you've got to get all the way to it. Finally, he's got a piece of it. Next, it'll be Jerwood, who will try to get a bit of breeze from that upper left-hand corner, but it looks as though it's fizzling out now. And you have to give all credit to Dahlmer. He's just sailed this beat perfectly. Also, with the Jenica up, that looks to be an advantage over Jerwood, sailing with only the main.
That's certainly an advantage in that acceleration out of the tack. You know, that's when you need that horsepower. But Dahlmer not quite laying the mark. We have talked about it's really shifty with the wind blowing over the top of those islands down onto the race course. It is shifts galore. He has a big advantage. There's no doubt that he's made a big gain, but that extra tack costing some of it. But he's now down and around the mark. And Dahlmer looking to stamp his authority on this race early.
And this race won best of 5, first to win 3 in the Super 16 knockout round. All teams looking to move on into the quarterfinals. And so far, so good if you're Nicholas Dahlmer and a fan of Sweden. 3 Swedish teams competing in this regatta. Dahlmer looking to send Jerwood home. Still a tall order, but he's doing what he has to do in this match so far. Now Jerwood bringing on good breeze from behind. You can see him there just crossing behind Dahlmer. Riding that puff on port all the way downwind before jibing for the leeward gates. Here we go.
So down to the bottom. Dahlmer just continuing to extend away in the light blue, coming down through his jibe. Should be his final turn. I expect we'll see him look for that right-hand mark as we look out from the shore, looking upwind. It certainly appears to be the mark he's gone on the ley line for, to try and lock that right-hand side of the racetrack down. That's where the gains were for him on the first beat. I expect we'll see him look to take those same advantages.
So
but
here's
so much lighter.
Yeah, these are what I would call connect the dots conditions, where you look out up the course and you've got to place your boat in the pressure lanes in order to keep speed up. So the big question to my mind is, will Dahlmer continue all the way to the right or tack relatively early? To my eye, breeze better in the middle of the racetrack. Plus, his competition just rounding behind now. Has Jerwood made a little bit of a gain on that run? Here comes the tack from Dahlmer. Interesting, no Jenniker. Jerwood, however, leaving his Jenniker up. And he's definitely made a gain.
Well, he's catching back up, but he's going that same way. Jenniker going away now as just that gust hits. They have to tack out that exclusion. We can see that line of yellow buoys up that right-hand side of the race course. So they're going as hard as they can on the ley line.
On
through
board.
the tack, that windward board coming up. And they've got perhaps 3 or 4 lengths of gauge over Dahlmer, who has sort of extended away. It's a bit like a kind of concertina, with the lead boat just sort of extending and then that tail boat sort of being sucked back in. And Jerwood's got to try and make some of those catch-ups stick.
Dahlmer just getting into a little breeze on his bow there. It helps to be out in front. You can get to the shifts first, get to the pressure first, and sort of marshal your competition around the racetrack. And so far, it is Jerwood's race to lose. Now, Jerwood tacking, or Dahlmer tacking rather, underneath a bit of a light spot now with the rocky headlands just to his windward side, and that might help Matt Jerwood.
Well, Matt Jerwood certainly moving faster on that right-hand side. We have seen good shift up in that top left-hand corner. I think that's where Dahlmer's making his gains, tracking across. If he can lay the top gate from here, it will be advantage Dahlmer.
Dahlmer also has one of these M32s. He's arguably put a lot of time in on the boats training, and it certainly shows in this match.
Well, round he goes, up at the top. Nicholas Dahlmer leading off to that right-hand side. Super cool and under control. Into a super strong position.
This, the final downwind run before the short sprint to the finish off the grandstand here in Marstrand. Options running out for Matt Jerwood in this match. He's got potentially 4 more matches to go. If he wants to stay in this competition, he'll need to take a few more off of Dahlmer, who will, if things stay as they are, set up to take his first scalp in this first to win 3 matches of the Super 16 knockout round.
Well, this leg, 5 of 7. 6 of 7 now. Dahlmer on his 6th. Jerwood still on his 5th. So down they come, down. Just the final gate to go, then the dash to the finish. And remember, we had, what, 18 teams. Well, actually, 20 teams in the competition this morning. Then we lost 2. And we've lost another 2 more. As those 2 rounds of that Super 16 eliminated. We'll see 3 more matches concluded today. So plenty of teams sitting in the stands by the end of today, thinking of what might have been. And in this race, it seems to have opened up to Dahlmer dominating the start and dominating Matt Jerwood all the way around the racecourse, really. In home waters here in Sweden. And coming in on the grandstand, Nicholas Dahlmer just taking a ripple of applause that becomes a thumping cheer from the home crowd.
So there it is, folks. Race number 1, Nicholas Dahlmer.
I mean, that's just how you want to start off one of these elimination rounds. You know, really chalking up a win. Matt Jerwood really left with nowhere to go. You could see him trying to find his options, trying to take his chances. But sometimes, particularly actually when that race course is quite so random, you have to get one of those splits in early. Really forced to follow Nicholas Dahlmer around that bottom gate. And from there, Dahlmer was able really just to build on his lead, capitalise on that advantage, and go on to take the win.
And surprisingly, Matt Jerwood on paper is the stronger team, but Dahlmer outsailed him from the pre-start right the way around the course. Beautiful job.
Well, that's how the Swedes like to see him. And listen, I've seen plenty of Swede come alive in this, their home venue, the real jewel in the crown of Swedish sailing. But he'll know how to respond. Very solid team. Semi-finalist from last year's 2016 World Match Racing Tour Championship. Matt Jerwood through the line. So that was that match. We'll be coming to you with our next matchup. I believe that is going to be PJ Postma against Torvar Mirsky. We will see Burnson and Steele out on the race course before too long. Well, it will be Postma and Morski up next. Postma taking that first race. And Postma new onto this World Match Racing Tour for this 2017 season. He's bought 2 of the M32s. He's got a training base, purpose-built, the heart of the Oracle Team USA sailing team from the past America's Cup. And a formidable opponent. He knows how to win. He knows how to win here in Marstrand. And I think this is really one of the ones to watch. You know, of all of the Super 16 matches, Mirsky against Postma for me is going to be, I think we're going to see fireworks.
Well, not that this counts, Simon, but PJ Postma is also one of the nicest people off the water out of all the competitors here. He's a true gentleman. And I like the way he's been attacking this M32 sailing with a vengeance. I mean, he's just, taking it full on, 2 boats, training sessions, the whole bit. He's made a statement that he's here to stay in the long run.
I mean, he's approaching it like it's an Olympic campaign. He's brought that same level of Olympic focus. We know he's done 3 Olympic games, risen right to the top of the Finn class. And, he knows how to compete, he knows how to win, and he knows himself. And he's been able to build that team around him, starting to strengthen perhaps the areas of his potential weakness, whether that be some of the match racing. I know he's had Ian Williams, 6-time World Match Racing Tour champion, over there training with him at times, and looking to learn where he feels he's got something to learn, but to approach it his own way. And it's great to see him doing well. He was, in Perth we saw him racing, and there were holes. But let's see. All of that is talk, and this is sailing.
So here we go, folks, into the 2-minute entry period. This will be Johnny Burnson against Chris Steele. Burnson, another local team. Chris Steele from New Zealand. Again, first to win 3, best of 5. Steele will be in the blue boat. And the yellow boat, the graphic just went away. So,
well, I think yellow's Steele.
Into the jibe. About 1 minute and 30 seconds to go to the start.
So there, Johnny Burnson in yellow, looking to roll across the top of Chris Steele.
Steele's got him, though, up against the ropes.
Well,
1 minute to go.
Well, that's a long time. Steele bringing the bow down, looking to try and lead back, looking to try and dominate this exchange. Burnson just hanging back, looking, he's happy with Steele down there. As soon as he brings his bow up, Burnson will try and put him back under pressure, try and close him down towards the ley line.
40 seconds to go.
Steele's done a nice job of burning this time. The wind's actually dropped off quite a lot, and Burnson needs to put his hammer down now, needs to try and close down the gauge. Burnson in the yellow boat. And Steele has this absolutely tied up in knots at the moment. Burnson really unable to progress back towards the line. Both boats a little bit slow. Steele be happy with that final 9 seconds. They're approaching the line, and perhaps Steele a tiny bit early, needs to kill some speed. Could this be a little bit of late disaster to Steele? Burnson now coming in from behind, but Chris Steele just managing to hold behind the line, but can he roll around the mark? And Burnson also parked up. The Jenniker's coming out, and actually that's backed.
Oh.
Disaster striking Chris Steele. He's gone for the unfurl, but they're almost head to wind. The wind has swung all the way round to the left, so far in fact, that they're almost head to wind on the reach leg. And it is a real park up. Steele caught on the pin. Burnson and the man nearly in the water, just quite hanging in.
That was impressive. My goodness, it's not over yet, though. He's caught the mark. Steele has caught the mark and is dragging it, and Burnson close to windward, starting to advance over the top of him. Steele is in big trouble.
I mean, that race just turned inside out in the final seconds. You can see them fighting the mark off all the time. Johnny Burnson just sailing over the top. Steele had that race tied up in knots, and in those final few seconds, just digging a little bit too deep, just not managing that speed into the line. And then now there you can see the foot right down, trying to kick the mark off the bottom of the rudder. They're finally free, but you glance up, you look forward, and what do you see? You see Johnny Burnson in the yellow boat in home waters here in Sweden, sailing around Mark 1.
Chris Steele did a nice job shutting out Johnny Burnson, but then he shut himself out of that start. Burnson saw the door open, he walked right through it and said, "Thank you very much." 10-boat length advantage to the Swedish team. Burnson heading downwind over Chris Steele.
I mean, he was on toast. You know, he'd just been served up with a milkshake and fries, and somehow Burnson found a way back in. Well, and he's turned that into a big lead coming down the run, and we saw how powerful it was being that lead boat. I think the only question mark for Burnson is, can he keep it under control? The wind is clearly shifting around all over the place.
Very patchy out across the race course here in Marstrand. Johnny Burnson hit the exclusion zone and jibes for the bottom gates, comfortably ahead, at least so far in this match. Maybe a bit of a gimme there on the start, but he'll take it. That is racing. And a good effort from Chris Steele's crew to get unhooked off the mark, but not before they disadvantage is about 15 boat lengths to Johnny Burnson, rounding the right-hand gate, heading back upwind with the Jenniker up. Chris Steele with a good amount of pace, though, from behind. Now, will he split to the left-hand side? It looks like he won't have much room to do that. Yes, he is, going for an extra jibe to the left.
Well, he's got to take the split. And on a shifty day like this, you know, it really is a little bit of a gamble. But when you're behind, I think that's a smart move. I don't necessarily like that direction. But given how patchy it is, there may well be opportunities for Steele here. He's certainly fast already out that bottom mark. Now let's see. The wind does look like at the moment it's rounding that right-hand side, which will advantage Burnson. Still having to tack up.
So Steele hitting the exclusion zone, he will tack. And that's where we'll see Johnny Burnson's lead consolidated. He's gained a little bit on this upwind leg. Leg 3 of 7 here, race 1 of the Super 16 knockout stage between Johnny Burnson leading Chris Steele.
So coming back together, Steele has managed to keep it. He's still in striking distance. I mean, that's the key here. Steele just needs to stay so that he has an opportunity to fight back. Here's Burnson. all that crew weight right forward.
Halfway up, leg 3 of 7 for Chris Steele. Burnson, however, has run into a little bit of a light patch up there in the top left corner where you can make some gains and some losses, all depending on how the breeze funnels through the rocks.
It's about how you build your speed there, Tucker, because they are tacking down speed, they are tacking in the light, but it generally works out. You know, you get a little bit of a left-hander there just off the shore. We've seen it there on average reasonably consistently, but he's slow a little bit now. As long as he can make the marks, I think he'll be okay. He's got to do another tack in this down pressure. He will have a bit of a problem. We can see the Jenica already starting to come out. Steele coming in all the time with a little bit more speed and already bringing his bow up. Burnson bringing his bow up. And it's Chris Steele coming in with the starboard advantage. And he's going to put Burnson around, coming in underneath. The flags are blazing on board Chris Steele's boat. His bow's coming up. He's diving up for the inside and he's managed to lock his way around. And Steele, coming from behind, has snuck around the bows of local Johnny Burnson. And you could just see the momentum building there and Burnson looking more and more exposed. And as they round that top mark, we have a lead change. Steele going for the jibe and Burnson coming in. I don't think this exchange is over. Steele now the man parks and Burnson coming in underneath him. He has a penalty and Steele now starting to move. But my goodness, that race just hit the touch papers at the top.
Never say never. That's one thing we know about match racing. Johnny Burnson still has a penalty, though. It has not come off. Now, finally, the umpires remove it, so it's all even as far as penalties are concerned, but a beautiful job. Chris Steele got back in the match at the top of the track and now leads Burnson downwind, leg 4 of 7. One more lap to go, and it's Burnson now looking for an opportunity to get back in the game.
And we talked about that at the bottom, you know, taking the opposite side, generating a split. And you know what, on a day like today with Marstrand, you just have to minimize. If you're in a losing situation, just try and minimize how much that loss is, but wait for the opportunities. And when the opportunity came, Steele was there ready to strike.
Don't write Burnson out yet, though. He's aggressive, trying to reel Steele back in. He's got enough of a gauge to do so. Now he's trying to roll over the top. He doesn't quite have Steele's breeze. Steele, meanwhile, is going to have to jibe one more time to get into the leeward gates. And this match is far from over.
So bringing their bow down into the jibe. Steele looking to lead this pair down, and I think electing to take that right-hand mark. There does look like good pressure on the right. You just never quite know. Burnson now with the jibe, looking to come in, I think, on the same mark.
I wonder if would Burnson possibly split here. He'd have to do an extra jibe to do so. There could be some breeze down here in this lower left pocket, and that's one of the only opportunities he's got, and he looks as though he's going to take it.
Wow. I didn't think we'd see him take it this time. It did look like the course all one way to that right-hand side. And Burnson sailing a lot further downwind to get to that mark. A big VMG loss. And Steele already through the tack, almost covering Burnson out of this bottom gate.
Both boats with Jennikers up, heading upwind. Steele to the far right, tacking to stay with Johnny Burnson. Burnson setting up for attack.
Both boats getting rid of their Jennikers. The breeze just rising back up. And it has come up a bit to the left. We have seen a shift to Burnson.
A tight cover from Chris Steele. And no Jenniker as well. Burnson looking to put his bow down, keep his air clear, keep his speed on.
And this is nice for Burnson. Looking very effectively use that Jenniker to try and break back in this race.
And now Steele will put his Jenniker out as well, so clearly that is the mode upwind in these light breezes. Burnson tacking away, looking to shake Steele, set something up, effect a split, which he's done here in the middle of the track. And Simon, I just wonder if there is breeze. It's very deceiving on that upper left corner. Sometimes it looks like it's there, and when you get there, it disappears. So the big gamble for Burnson.
Well, Burnson trying to find a way back in, but I just feel like in the center of this race course, he's made a lot of losses, sailing slower than Steele a lot of the time. And all that means is when he finds an opportunity, it needs to be a bigger opportunity. You know, he does have a split, but he did a lot of down-speed maneuvering to get it. And you have to take your opportunities when they're actually there, not be forced too hard to kind of make them. Now the boat's coming back together. Burnson out of his tack out of the left-hand side. Chris Steele coming out of the right. Burnson using his Jenica arguably a bit more.
Big puff of breeze for Burnson right now. That's Steele from the right-hand side. No Jenica up. Both hulls in the water. Meanwhile, Burnson with a hull flying and a Jenica up. Has speed. Looking to reel him in. It'll be a tack for Steele.
And critically, with that extra tack, with Chris Steele not laying the top, that does hand an opportunity to try and bait back for Burnson, who just takes a massive shift. He was laying that top mark easily, and now he's not.
I think Steele's wind shadow didn't help either. As Steele tacks and rounds the mark comfortably. Now Ken Burnson's going to have to do another tack. I don't think he can lay from there.
He's certainly trying to, but I mean, that is punishing for Burnson.
And look at Steele's speed. He's off downwind, unstoppable in that puff. That'll give like an elevator ride all the way down the track. So if Burnson was going to make it happen, that was his moment. It's been a good race, though.
Oh, fantastic. Couple of lead changes. Steele taking his opportunities. Now leading this pair down towards the bottom. Leg 6 or 7, just the dash to the bottom marks and then through to the finish. Chris Steele out in front. It's looking rosy for this New Zealand team in the battle with Johnny Burnson from Sweden.
Well, we certainly wouldn't have said that off the starting line. But an impressive turnaround for the Kiwis over Burnson and his Swedish team. Many more racing to come, though. This only match 1 of a potential 5. First to win 3 in the Super 16 knockout round as the teams look to make it to the quarterfinals. And Simon, a big puff of breeze for Burnson from behind.
I mean, he's coming down fast, flying the hull on port jibe. Looking to try and put Steele under pressure, but Steele's positioning is really strong. Just between Burnson and the mark the whole time, but the gap
Look at Burnson's
is closing so quickly. Chris Steele needs to keep a cool, calm head here as Burnson charges down the run, looking to try and snatch a bit more Swedish luck into the finish. Now coming through the jibe. Now can he roll Steele? He needs to puff a breeze now. Steele has this mark closed down at the moment, pointing down towards the finish. Chris Steele looks to hold on. Burnson bringing his bow down. And he's a little bit slow, needs to try and light it up through this final few stages. But Chris Steele just holding on, I think, doing enough. Keeping a cool, calm head.
That was a massive puff that Johnny Burnson rode all the way down from behind to catch up. Overlapped as we head to the finish. Steele to leeward, trying to hold off Johnny Burnson. Burnson even with more pace, more speed, but he's not going to go all the way around the outside. Chris Steele's got the finish line in his sights. He's slow, though.
Well, putting his bow down, pointing at the finish. Burnson now bringing his bow down. But I think Steele has just done enough. Looking to drift through the line. In comes Johnny Burnson on port. Chris Steele still on starboard. And it is going to be Chris Steele to take the win in that epic battle. 2 M32s within 2 meters of each other as they come through the line.
I mean, that is the best match we have seen so far, Simon. Right from the pre-start all the way to the finish.
And wow, you know, what a race course we have out there today. Full of shifts, full of puffs, full of holes. Absolutely fantastic. Well, listen, that wraps up that match. We will be bringing you PJ Postma, who will be up against Torvar Mirsky in the next match. Now, we talked about this one being very eagerly anticipated. Postma has that 1-0 advantage. But listen, all of these teams are absolutely super exciting.
So, Simon, we have a replay queued up of that last match. As we say, it was one of the most exciting matches we have seen. Let's begin at the start.
So down at the start, Burnson really looking to keep Chris Steele under pressure, who just brings his bow up. Now, this is where the wind shifts a little bit, all the way round to the left. And Steele looking to roll around the mark, but he's trying now to accelerate. He thinks he's deploying his Jenica to accelerate, but actually the wind shifted and ends up backing him up, and he's suddenly going in reverse. That was not what he expected. You know, this is a 90-degree reach, this first leg. So a 45-degree left shift leaves Chris Steele's start in absolute tatters, and Johnny Burnson comes from behind.
And watch the crew member here just, whoa, almost falling overboard. Good job hanging on to the underside of the rack, and then it goes from bad to worse when they hook the pin.
The pin going underneath the rudder. You can see them quick to react. Johnny Burnson's in that windward position. You can see Chris Steele looking to try and initiate a bit of a luff. But Burnson really grabbing that opportunity. Chris Steele had that race kind of won. He perhaps should have slowed down a little bit coming into the start, but he was not really able to anticipate that shift. Then at the top, Johnny Burnson. Now this is him looking how comfortable he's crossing Chris Steele there. The Jenica coming out. He knows it a bit light, and Chris Steele slowly brings the bow up. Then he brings up the bow again. He brings up the bow again, and suddenly Chris Steele is coming right in fast, flying the hull right at the line at Johnny Burnson. He's through and underneath, looping in and around the mark. And that was our lead change.
Looks like the breeze went a little bit right on Johnny Burnson there. His deploy a bit early. Of course, you can see what happens. And then the penalty stays up for quite a long time.
And then down towards the bottom, we saw Johnny Burnson picking up what was a massive right-hand puff. But what Steele does a nice job of here is he doesn't overreact. He just stays between his mark and the man, matches him in the turn. And here, Johnny Burnson just ends up having to soak down for the mark. Doesn't quite get the ley line right. I think was hoping for a bit of a puff there to ride over the top of Steele. But Steele really owning the zone and then down and through the line. Now Steele again, as we come right into the finish, under a little bit of pressure with Burnson coming from behind, but always pretty minimal risk in real terms to the New Zealand team. Always between his competitor and that finish line, bringing his bow down, just pointing at the finish, can't lose from here, and actually going on to win what was a very hard-fought but well-considered win for Steele.
Yeah, I'll tell you. That race, had it had 15 or 20 more seconds worth of length in it, could have gone either way. Chris Steele seals the deal, but he had to fight for it.
So now I thought we were going to see Postma, but actually I think this is Dahlmer versus Jerwood. Jerwood in the red. Dahlmer in the blue. So correction, this is actually Postma Morski.
That's PJ Postma in orange. And Jerwood in gray. That was the 1-minute signal. Postma furling up his Jenica, just waiting for Jerwood to come in from behind. Jerwood with a big amount of pace and the Jenica up, looking for a massive hook. Postma refurling and trying to gain a bit of distance there, but just look at Jerwood from behind. So much speed, the hook seems imminent. He'll try to catch it, Jerwood, or Postma rather, and luff him up. Now Postma does a good job keeping that overlap from happening, keeping that hook from occurring. I'm going to guess we've got, 20 seconds to go till the start. PJ Postma goes for a luff and a hook, trying to shut down Matt Jerwood, and it looks good so far. 10 seconds to go. Jerwood left with no options. In fact, he's tacked onto starboard.
So Postma in the orange, Mirsky in the grey.
Oh, sorry, Mirsky, okay. We'll get a graphic up for you guys shortly. Mirsky is just shut out at the start.
So Postma leading off the pin. Well practiced, well drilled, and managing to pull off that pre-start. So round Postma goes up at the top of the racetrack. And leading down to this bottom left-hand side, PJ Postma still in control. Torvar Mirsky, the very experienced Australian skipper, looking to give chase. This is really one of my picks of the Super 16 round, and the sun is shining here in Marstrand, and what a fantastic day of racing we have for you here.
Perfect
Absolutely
conditions.
incredible.
PJ Postma looking comfortable and in control. Now his question here is, will he go to the right or the left? And Simon, most of the lead boats, as you have seen, have been taking the right-hand side, heading back upwind, and that's exactly what PJ Postma will do. And that leaves Mirsky with a decision.
Well, we've just been delivered a couple of vitamin well-awake drinks up here into the commentary booth, so we're going to try and enjoy those. I did hear a rumour that there were a couple of beer sponsors here in Marstrand, so if any of the beer sponsors want to have a couple of little samples delivered up here to the commentary, I think this afternoon is going to descend into a bit of a sailing and drinking fest here in the commentary booth. It's something I'm quite passionate about. And now the tack, PJ Postma over on the right-hand side looking to complete his turn, but he's got a little bit light, and tacking underneath him, Torvar Mirsky looking to try and strike back.
I wonder why Mirsky tacked there.
I think he just sensed that PJ Postma was dead in the water and maybe he could just throw it in and look to attack. It didn't really work out. Perhaps could have extended to the exclusion zone. Looking to try and get his bow forward. It's almost a bit of a monohull strategy, but he is clear air around the front. Now, the second tack from Mirsky, throwing it in on the line of PJ Postma, who goes for the tack.
Mirsky's doing what he needs to do to stay in this match and give himself an opportunity to catch up. Postma with a tight cover, lower and faster angle with the Jenniker up, but have a look at Mirsky with better speed.
Mirsky trying to strike back. Postma having to work really hard to keep the Australian behind him. PJ Postma from the Netherlands now flying the hull with that Jenniker up, and it can see him start to furl away. Now Mirsky with the tack. Postma looking to tack dead underneath. This battle not disappointing. And this time it's Mirsky with the deploy, and Postma looking to try and keep his Jenniker down, looking for a bit of a luff, trying to close down the gauge between the two boats. A massive luff from Postma. Mirsky coming in from behind, and he's been forced to tack away. Mirsky right up on that far right-hand exclusion zone, going for an extra tack off to the right. And at the moment, Postma just fending off, but this match absolutely live and kicking as these two heavyweights of the World Match Racing Tour trading blows up at the top of the racecourse. Mirsky in the grey heading off to the right. PJ Postma from Team Netherlands off to the left. And we're going to be coming in at the top, and it is going to be close between these two.
Now Mirsky will have rights under the rules. He'll be on starboard. And Postma looks very slow out of that tack onto port.
I mean, they're both slow, really light. It's going to depend who builds first here. Mirsky starting to move for me just a tiny bit quicker. We can see the hull popping up, and he's come from behind, remember. Coming into this exchange, PJ Postma was ahead, sorry, and now Torvar Mirsky coming out of the right in the grey has crossed the Dutchman. And the Flying Dutchman has had his wings clipped. Mirsky now moving into the lead right at the top of the racetrack. But can he lay? He's bringing his bow up. One more tack from Mirsky to go as Postma goes for his tack. These exchanges far from over. Mirsky needs to be sure he can lay from here. Jenica set. It looks strong for me. It looks like advantage to Mirsky. Coming in and around the top mark. And we have a full lead change.
Beautiful job. Torvar Mirsky heading downwind, leaving Postma in his wake.
And Postma only just laying there. We saw that Jenica just braking a little bit. And Mirsky with a lot more speed. I think this could be a big gain to the Australian. But it's a big split as well. And with that comes the risk. Postma now turning down and into his jibe. Mirsky looking to come into a lead position. Trying to just hold on to that lead. And actually Postma slow. Postma slow up at the top. And both boats really slow on the race course, but Mirsky, for me, just getting all the time a little bit more of the advantage.
Although having said that, PJ Postma has the best breeze on the course right now. Hull flying, trying to reel in Mirsky. It's a big advantage.
Well, he has that bow up quite a lot higher, sailing a much hotter angle, trying to fly the hull. We've actually got two different modes out there on the race course. Mirsky now bringing his bow down, but I think in a little bit more pressure. Better VMG to Mirsky.
But
Postma has that opportunity to try and attack. It will depend on the shift coming out of this. We have another whole lap to go, I think. Up to the top, then down to the bottom. And still very close. Postma looking to try and break up.
So now Mirsky will jibe on lay line for the bottom gate. PJ Postma, however, does not look like he'll lay down, so he'll have to do one more to get down into the bottom gates. But Mirsky is very slow, very light. It's getting patchy out there on the race course. That will give an advantage to the trailing boat if he can outpick the shifts and the breeze. But now Mirsky just getting up to speed, and he'll very likely head straight. Off to the right-hand side, upwind. A little bit of a light zone to sail through. Meanwhile, Postma with his last jibe looks as though he'll set up to follow Mirsky around. Too costly to do another jibe there, don't you think, Simon?
I don't know. I think Postma should see him split, but it's such a painful jibe. He's so light. You really want to make those moves when you've got speed. You know what? I think he's just going to carry on. Really just too afraid of stopping.
There is some breeze coming down from the upper right-hand side. And a big header for Mirsky. I just wonder if you were Postma, you'd tack now. Try to get bow forward into the middle of the racetrack. There they go. Mirsky leading through the tack there.
There is quite a lot of separation. Mirsky, for me, just has slightly the better of the moves a lot of the time into these tacks in this very light condition.
Tell you what, though, PJ Postma is close enough to attack and keep this an exciting race. Look at the last race we saw. It was far from over, right down to the finish. And PJ Postma just looking for his opportunities, trying to keep the game close in the middle of the track.
Jenica going away on Mirsky. Postma continuing to fly his, actually taking a bit of a knock. I wonder if we'll see him tack. Yes, there he goes. Yep. The full tack for Postma. I remember Postma taking the first race as well, so if Morski can hold on to this, that'll just level this one out and really set it up as, you know, one of the very closely fought battles here in the Super 16. Postma already on the move out of his tack. Morski now just looking to build speed and match in the cover position.
Breeze having shifted very far into the right. And Mirsky will just go bow down and try and stay with Postma, heading that direction, and likely hit him hard when he tacks. And there it is, simultaneous tacks from both boats. Jenniker filled up for Mirsky. Meanwhile, Postma will redeploy his. Very much on the crossover between the two, Simon. In the puffs, you don't want the Jenniker, and the lulls, you do. So that puts a premium on the crew work.
Postma trying to break back, setting a slightly hotter angle. I think Morski perhaps slightly overstanding. But he only has that run to the finish now, and that does give him a bit of an advantage. I think Postma not on ley line as well as Morski goes for his tack. Up and around the top mark. And electing, interestingly, 2 tack there. He could have laid, I think, that left-hand mark, but instead deciding the pressure on the right-hand side of the racecourse, so preferring that tack. And now leading down this final run.
Torvar Mirsky.
And he's done a nice job. You know, he's got ahead. And when he's been ahead, he's covered. He's given really no opportunities for Postma to break back. He's taken the shifts, he's taken the opportunities, he's been expansive when he needed to, and just look at the lead. You know, he's earned that. You know, that has been hard fought. It's obviously extended out a little bit towards the end as, you know, Postma's perhaps parked up a little bit on this last beat. But it's a solid performance, and he came into this 1-0 down. You know, and there's been a lot of momentum with Postma through the course of this regatta so far. He certainly turned a lot of heads yesterday. You know, out there really firing all cylinders, clearly showing an improvement from his performance in Perth.
Yeah. Time in the boat definitely pays off. PJ Postma. Now, this is very similar to the last leg of the first race we saw with Burnson almost reeling in Chris Steele. Postma will be looking for a miracle shift to do the same on this final leg before the finish. Mirsky, 2 jives left to go. And the best breeze on the course now belongs to Torvar Mirsky. Good puff of breeze with the hull flying. The final jibe for Torvar Mirsky to even the score over PJ Postma. First to win 3, best of 5 here as we look to the quarterfinals outside of this Super 16 round. And there it is, folks. A hard-fought match and a well-earned victory for the Australian team to even it up. The win goes to Torvar Mirsky.
I mean, what a race. What a comeback. Torvar Mirsky really brought his A-game to that. PJ Postma was formidable. But Mirsky made that look easy, and, you know, a 1 apiece on a match that finely poised on talent. You know, I am really looking forward to seeing who goes off to close it. And you know what? I can't pick that match. On the evidence of that, it looks like Torvar Mirsky all the way, but Postma has been so strong in those early rounds. I think it's going to be fantastic to see how that story unfolds throughout the day. And we're going to get you that result today here in Marstrand. It is going to come alive.
We started with 18 teams this morning. Now down to the Super 16. 2 teams are through into the quarterfinals. And more action to come. Now we're going to do a little bit of a replay. Let's relive that match.
So there at the top, in to the first mark, Postma looking to try and hold back Mirsky in the start. And he just gets this kind of bang on, going for the 2 tacks. Morski looking to try and keep his bow back, but really nowhere for him to go. And Postma brings his bow down, goes for the Jenniker unfurl. and able really just to lead off the line. You can see here just managing that speed, managing the acceleration, that rack coming up. You know, and as the gun sounds, PJ Postma just in front.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't pretty, but he just got it right. There wasn't time for 2 tacks. He identified that, didn't do them, managed to stay behind the line. Torvald Morski did his 2, but ultimately ended up following across. So great start to Postma.
And if you were a betting person, you'd put your money on Postma after that start.
I mean, I kind of thought that was done, but Mirsky kept it tight, and he did a real nice job. He was slightly quicker in his maneuvers in that early part of the race. The tacks slightly stronger and crisper. And as they go through here,
this is the next upwind leg. This is where Mirsky caught back up.
And then there's the tack. You know, and Mirsky there managed to get the hook. And then they separated to their corners. That right-hand side really came good. And Mirsky coming back with the starboard advantage with a couple of boat lengths, managing to find his way around Postma. And from that point on, there was no looking back. But, you know, you watch that start back and you forget quite how strong Postma was in the first part of that race. But Mirsky handling his boat better, tacking better, and then ultimately managing to find a way to get past and then stay past.
Looking for an opportunity, the trailing boat, and that was a good job for Mirsky finding that opportunity, capitalizing on the win, and the score is now 1-all. Fans on shore here in Marstrand getting treated to perhaps one of the world's very best natural sailing amphitheaters certainly the Match Racing Tour has ever seen. 23 years in the making, this event on this little island here in Sweden.
I think this promises to be perhaps the biggest, you know, for early stage of the regatta. You know, you got to remember, this is like a Wednesday afternoon. You know, this is, there are a lot of people here, you know, all across the beaches. We're just looking down there at the footpath along the front, all across the rocks behind there. There are thousands of people looking out onto the racecourse. Here in the grandstand, you know, we're kind of half full with the VIP hospitality next to us. I think chewing through sort of 20,000 kind of VIP guests all the way through the course of this week. And Dahlmer taking that first match. It'll be interesting to see whether we see Jerwood strike back.
And again, on paper, Jerwood, the stronger team, having finished second to Phil Robertson in Australia, having also won his grouping yesterday in the fleet racing qualifying. But Nicholas Dahlmer, the young Swedish team, taking first blood off of Matt Jerwood in match number 1. First to win 3 will move on into the quarterfinals. Three minutes to go. 1 minute till the entry period, with Jerwood entering below and Dahlmer above.
Correct.
The signal boat end. Dahlmer, the yellow flag. And Jerwood, the blue. Now 2 minutes, 45 seconds to go. Both boats away from the pre-start area. And now setting up on port for the entry. And once again, Dahlmer one up. Jerwood looking to even the score in this second race of potentially 5 here in the Super 16 knockout round. Both teams just slowing down, killing speed. Don't want to be early. Right of screen, that marker buoy and the signal boat there, signifying the line, the starting line, and also the entry, which will be in 5 seconds to go. Big amount of speed for Matt Jerwood with the Jenniker deployed, coming in from behind. Time on distance. Both boats about 3 seconds late, but Jerwood with plenty of pace. And we're into the pre-start.
Jerwood immediately looking to jibe down. Bring his man back up. Following Dahlmer down into the pre-start area. Jerwood won't be too worried about losing 1, but he certainly wouldn't want to lose 2 to Dahlmer looking to capitalise on his advantage. Dahlmer continuing to lead down. Jerwood coming up from behind on Paul. Dahlmer looking to sort of close down the gauge a little bit. And now turning down. Needs to be careful. Jerwood will be a little bit quicker as the boats come back together. And Jerwood may just be able to roll. He's looking for it. Jerwood looking to put the hammer in. He was riding a little bit more speed down, and he's managed to turn a follow situation into a lead. Now that's good if you're not early for the start, but he's got a solid lead position. The wind has built. I don't think that'll necessarily play to Jerwood's advantage as the boats turn back up, comparatively higher on the start line. And the Jenika's going away on board Jerwood's boat, 28 seconds, and he's really early. Jerwood coming back towards the line now. He's stolen the lead. But in my view, I don't think he wanted it. 20 seconds to go, going for a tack. Now, well timed that tack. He does, I think, have time to tack and tack back. We'll see whether Dahlmer is able to respond. I think he's just gone for a slightly higher groove. Final 6 seconds. Dahlmer with a better advantage. Jerwood hasn't been able to complete. The Jenika coming out on board the Australian. Dahlmer now bringing his bow down. And we're race underway. Dahlmer having won the start and now leading this pair off the line in the light blue.
It's a beautiful job off the starting line. He won the first race and he's won the start here in race number 2 over Matt Jerwood. And now into mark number 1. Nicholas Dahlmer and crew own the race here in Marstrand, Sweden. Now we head on to a downwind H2 configuration. But look at the speed of Matt Jerwood coming in from behind and now jibing simultaneously, looking to roll over the top of Nicholas Dahlmer. Can he do it? He might just have a piece of Dahlmer here. That early, that he brought breeze from behind and he just let him through the jibe. And I think he's going to convert that into a lead. Meanwhile, Dahlmer's got something to say about that, and he's going to try and stay in touch with Jerwood coming into the bottom gates. There is no overlap. And with a lead change, Jerwood out in front at the leeward gate.
Race commencer, change boat.
Great job there from Jerwood, leading around that right-hand mark. And Dahlmer really forced to follow.
Very close, though. Dahlmer within striking distance.
Oh, for sure. But he's followed around the mark. So at the moment, this is the Matt Jerwood show, just going all the way to exclusion. Dahlmer up into the tack. Like what Matt Jerwood has done here. Managing to break back and now leading this pair off to the right-hand side, but much slower to unfurl.
Yeah.
Dahlmer with a big build, and you can see that little bit of untimely umpire wash, wreaking havoc a little bit with Matt Jerwood.
And that opens the door. Dahlmer very much back in this match. He's to leeward and will be on port when the two teams converge. But he's bow forward. Anybody's guess. Nothing in this match so far as we head back upwind. Leg 3 of 7. Dahlmer looking for his second win over Jerwood, who has stolen the lead, but only just.
Very close, and Dahlmer's done a nice job of keeping it tight, and he has managed to break out for clear air, heading for that left-hand side. Jerwood rightly just sort of shadowing him across, but perhaps only a length in it. I don't think Dahlmer can tack, though. Matt Jerwood has that starboard advantage. He knows he can just bring the bow down if Dahlmer goes for the tack. They're coming up on that left-hand exclusion, and we may well see Dahlmer really run out of breeze. We can see Jerwood there just getting rid of his Jenika, going for the tack. Now, he has got a bit of a split. This part of the race, I think, could be critical. A great tack for Jerwood. I think just tacking on a bit of a shift. Dahlmer now through his turn. Needs to get that Jenika set, needs to bring the bow down. But a good tack for Dahlmer as well. Coming out that left-hand side and now flying the hull. And I think Dahlmer may be breaking back here. Matt Jerwood didn't need to tack away there. He had the control. He had the starboard advantage. He had the position. Now, he might well cross from this, but I think he's exposed himself to unnecessary risk.
I wonder if he can. It's definitely anybody's guess in this match as we approach the top gates for the second time.
Well, let's see.
Here comes the tack.
Jerwood with the tack, and when the next boats meet, Jerwood will have done one more tack than Nicholas Dahlmer, and I think that's going to have opened up the door. Dahlmer now looking for the tack. Now can he get it in front of Matt Jerwood? Matt Jerwood coming in from behind, flying the hull on starboard tack with that advantage. Is he going to be able to roll? Dahlmer has his bow up. Both boats coming up on the top gate, and it's absolutely neck and neck. Jerwood looking for the roll around the top of Nicholas Dahlmer as the bows come down, but it is Nicholas Dahlmer that's come from behind. And the Swedish team sneaking in front of Australia, just in at the mark, but it's not over yet. Down into the jibe. Dahlmer immediately turning down, as does Matt Jerwood. Both boats battling again, a little bit awash as they sail away from that top gate. Jerwood looking to stick the knife back in, and here he comes, flying the hull down, but Dahlmer has extended away perhaps a half a length or so. And wow, it's just really opened up at the top of the course.
Well, we mentioned nothing in it between these two teams, and there definitely isn't. Dahlmer had the lead. Jerwood stole it. Dahlmer has taken it again, but it is still all on this run downwind, leg 4 of 7. Simultaneous jibes. Dahlmer looking to get his bow clear.
And again, a match jibe, and Jerwood still faster out of this turn. He has his bow up. Dahlmer's managed to work a little bit of separation to leeward, but if Jerwood rolls him, that won't help. But Dahlmer just holding on, leg 4 of 7. Jerwood really throwing the kitchen sink at him down this run.
This next jibe will be pretty crucial, particularly for the trailing boat. And I just see there's a big angle difference between the two teams, and that helps Dahlmer, who's a bit lower and faster, just took a bit of pressure across Jerwood's bow.
And I think Jerwood there just burnt a little bit of distance to try and roll. Dahlmer kept his cool, and he's managed to turn that into an advantage, and the small advantage is becoming a big one, picking up a nice puff down into the bottom gates. And Nicholas Dahlmer turns what was an inch into a half boat length, and then half a boat length into 5 boat lengths as he rounds the bottom mark ahead.
Fans on shore certainly happy with the Swedish team having to fight for this lead. It's not over yet, but it is now Dahlmer's race to lose, and he leads upwind over Matt Jerwood, who will jibe and effect a split. Heading to the left-hand side, Dahlmer sets up for a tack to stay with him.
Big of a shift round to the left-hand side. Jerwood now around. But Dahlmer already on to starboard and looking to try and cover.
To my eye, Dahlmer in a bit of breeze as well. Advantage to him, the breeze coming directly down from his bows. And it's got a bit of a right-hand angle in it as well. So far, so good if you're a fan of Nicholas Dahlmer in this second race of the Super 16 qualifiers.
Jerwood with his tack in the left. Staring down the barrel of a 2-0 deficit to Nicholas Dahlmer in this match.
Once again, you can never say never in these races. Very shifty, very tricky race course, and it certainly awards those who are awake and able to take advantage of opportunities as they come.
Now, could this be an opportunity coming out of the tack? Dahlmer's Jenica just being a little bit slow to come in. I think he's now built some speed. I think Dahlmer actually in quite good shape there, sailing a lot higher. Matt Jerwood a little bit bow down there, just taking a bit of a knock. Jerwood, I think, doing the right thing, really pushing into that. Very little option, but just sail in the wind you're in. Dahlmer will be pleased with that view, just looking down to Matt Jerwood, sailing a lot higher, nice and fast.
And now, after tacking, Jerwood on starboard, and this is where Dahlmer will make it hurt. perfectly placing his position to windward and on top of his opponent on starboard there.
And listen, even if that's not about dirty air, it's just about positioning. It's about what can Matt Jerwood do from there. Now, we have seen some pretty private puffs out there on the race course, but that is good positioning from Dahlmer. And he's managed to really capitalize on the opportunities that he's come his way. Now leading into this final top mark to take this race to 2-0. Out in front against Matt Jerwood. And round he comes. Matt Jerwood now coming back in. Up at the top of the racetrack, around his mark. And flying, coming in with a lot of pressure. Matt Jerwood really cranking around that mark. But perhaps an opportunity to break back. Matt Jerwood coming down the final run over on that right-hand side, flying the hull. Perhaps 5 or 6 knots quicker. Now turning down into the jibe.
Tell you what, though, it is still not over. Look, judging by that camera angle, the door opening just ever so slightly for Matt Jerwood and the team splitting on this run.
Oh, and interestingly, Dahlmer's still slow. And Matt Jerwood still moving down the racecourse, and he has a big split. This is a good opportunity. This is a real opportunity to come back in the race for Matt Jerwood. Dahlmer and the Swedish fans here in Marstrand on the edges of their seat. The Swedish
still
sailor,
very slow.
He's trying to hang in. Jerwood, bow up, looking to try and get as much speed out of his boat as he can as he turns down into what he hopes, I'm sure, will be his final jibe, looking to attack the inside of Nicholas Dahlmer. The boat's coming back together, and Dahlmer looks to me to be strong. He's got his bow down, but can Jerwood pick up an extra puff? There's a bit of dark water behind him, and they are not down at the mark. Neither boat laying the bottom mark as it is, as Jerwood picks up that puff and brings his bow down, and it's going to get very close to the bottom. Dahlmer on the inside, looking to try and hang on the mark, but here comes Matt Jerwood in the red boat, the Turkish Airlines boat, down through the bottom gate and the dash to the finish. Dahlmer will have the inside when they next meet. It's just the dash to the finish to go after this as Jerwood turns down. Dahlmer absolutely parked in the middle of the racecourse. And it is all going the young Western Australian's way at the moment as he brings his bow up on starboard, looking to try and come past.
Look at that.
And Matt Jerwood crosses the line, and I can't believe it. At the top, you could have called this a done deal. Tucker, I almost thought you were going to go out there and pick us up a couple of the drinks from the bar, but no. From behind, from nowhere, Matt Jerwood and Redline Racing has come round. And you know what now? We have 2 Super 16 sail-offs at 1 apiece, and really today coming alive. Matt Jerwood bringing his bow down now. This should just be a formality. It's going to be close.
Unbelievable.
But that is a comeback. And if you're a young sailor out there looking at a race and wondering whether you should carry on sailing.
Let him hear you, folks. Give him a round of applause. A beautiful win from behind for Matt Jerwood. And we've said it all day, Simon. You just can't write any team out and never say never until the very finish.
That was unbelievable comeback.
Didn't see that coming. And neither did Nicholas Dahlmer.
No, you could just see that breeze coming in.
Okay, so now we're going to go to a replay and relive that match, Simon. We begin in the pre-start.
So there. Again, we see that double tack. And that's from Matt Jerwood. And it just was not to be. Unable to complete those 2 tacks in the time. I think he maybe could have tacked back a tiny bit quicker there. Mistimed it. And that really handed the pre-start to Nicholas Dahlmer. And then down the run here, Matt Jerwood picking up a bit of extra puff on the inside out of that jibe mark. And again, another lead change. Matt Jerwood coming around to take the lead and rolling round. And that made it Matt Jerwood's race to lose. And then here's that tack at the top. Matt Jerwood coming in from that right-hand side. Bring his bow in and just lit up in flames. Dahlmer had been in front, but then Matt Jerwood came piling in. It's hard to believe all these pieces of action in the same race.
Right.
Lead changes galore. Dahlmer just round in front with Jerwood right on his heels. And this is where Dahlmer does a really nice job of extending away. Look how close this race is. Jerwood jibing on top. But just from here, Nicholas Dahlmer gets the pressure. The turn a bit more aggressive on board. And there you see the pressure difference. Dahlmer just sailing away a little bit. Jerwood picking up a bit of extra puff, but it was really from here that Dahlmer went on to extend. And then through and on to that last leg. Dahlmer on the inside, Jerwood on the outside, but he'd ridden the puff all the way down the race course, got the ley line right. And it was there, the cross, where Jerwood able to slide across the front of Dahlmer, slide through that bottom gate, all very, very close, and all the way into the finish. So, I mean, what a race. You know, 2 champions, 5 lead changes, and 1 apiece, and plenty more to come this afternoon here in Marstrand.
One thing that we're seeing as well, Simon, is that the boats that are trailing are coming from behind. Anyway, here's a graphic overall lead so far. You can see Nicholas Dahlmer and Matt Jerwood tied 1 apiece. We still have Harry Price against Ian Williams, Nevin Snow against Phil Robertson, and Mons Holmberg to sail Taylor Canfield. Now, David Gilmore wrapped up his match over Sally Barkow 3-0. Chris Steele has yet more sailing to come, rather. He's only got 1 point over Johnny Burnson. Peter Jan Postma has 1 point, and Tervar Morski does as well. Those two tied, and Jan Gishard wrapped up Sam Gilmore 3-0. Live pictures out here in the Marstrand Fjord. Racing continues here in the Super 16 qualifying round of the GKSS Match Cup Sweden.
So we are now getting ready for racing out there on the water. 3 minutes to go. We are on the yellow and grey boat now. That is Tervar Mirsky in grey, and he is up against PJ Postma.
And the score 1-all to each of those teams. And Simon, this was your pick, this match.
Well, you know, I can't pick between my picks now. You know, there've been so many good matches. I mean, all of the 3 we have this afternoon have been first class. You know, we remember this morning we saw the guys going out in the water. We saw Barkow dispatch 3-0. We saw Gishard dispatching Gilmore 3-0. Ah, goodness me. Chris Steele against Johnny Burnson. We'll get our kind of sheets all sorted out for tomorrow, so we introduce the right matches.
Little minute 20 to go to the start. Steele looks to have a piece of Burnson. Burnson trying to keep the overlap from occurring. Coming up on 1 minute. Both boats just very slow in the water here. Burnson's done a good job just staying to leeward of Steele. And here we go, 50 seconds. Both boats heading back towards the line.
So Johnny Burnson in a nice leeward position. Steele looking to roll round. Looking to try and put the pressure on. Both boats down towards that ley line So nice positioning from Burnson, looking to try and get under the line of Steele, and he's done it. But is he going to be able to hold it? Final 17 seconds, and Johnny Burnson just managing to hold out Chris Steele on the bottom of the line.
Both boats stop dead in the water. Here comes the gun. Burnson, beautiful job. Holding off Steele. Johnny Burnson with the deploy, just slowly putting his bow down now. But he waited until Chris Steele was stopped completely dead in the water. So advantage Johnny Burnson, looking to even the score in this second race. Now, he got out ahead in the first race and was passed by Chris Steele. Steele will be looking to do the same thing again.
How does the puff look on the downwind?
On board with Burnson.
All the way to boundary.
Copy.
Even both sides. I don't think there's anything particular to jump
Yeah, stand by, coming slow, coming slow.
Very calm on board. Burnson leading around mark #1, but Chris Steele is very close behind. Certainly close enough to attack on the downwind run. This next jibe will be crucial. Burnson will have to lead him through the jibe and keep his air clear forward. If you're Chris Steele, he'll probably look to either beat him through the jibe, which he's going to do here. So Burnson led through the jibe just a little bit, but Steele did a better job positionally. Now, can Steele roll from this position? Or can Burnson hold him off? Burnson just barely keeping his air clear, down to leeward. That puff of breeze there puts him back out in front and gives him the choice of which mark to head around the leeward gate. So Burnson barely holding on to this lead. An extra jibe for Steele, and that's going to hurt the trailing boat. Looking to effect a split, he'll head to the left-hand side. And very painful at the bottom of the track behind Johnny Burnson. Chris Steele just in a light spot there, nursing his boat around the leeward mark. He's got the split that he wanted. On board here with Burnson, they've deployed the Jenniker. Meanwhile, Steele keeps his up all the way around the leeward mark.
Nice job, boys.
You can hear Burnson saying, nice job. He's happy with what he sees. There is a bit more breeze to where Chris Steele is. But now Burnson gets a good puff from the right-hand side, and that'll help him protect his lead upwind.
Okay.
There's the difference between the two boats as Burnson crosses ahead of Steele.
It's a good pressure here. 3, 2, 1, here we go.
Jennifer furled up, good breeze for Burnson. It'll be a tack furl as he tacks onto port to stay with Chris Steele. Burnson continuing to gain the Jennifer back out in these light and fluky conditions. Advantage Burnson. He's made a big gain on this upwind leg. And of course, to stay in the match, that's what he needs to do. Have a look at this. Burnson may be struggling to keep this lead here. He's just looked over his shoulder, and when he sees Steele has made a bit of a gain as both boats approach the top of the track. Now Burnson does look relatively comfortable around the top mark, but Steele, having closed the gauge, is going to be close enough. Both boats around the left-hand mark, looking upwind. Steele, a jibe set, beautiful job. That could end up being a very powerful move if he hooks into a right-hand shift. And I think he has. Simon, look at that. Chris Steele, I think, in a very strong position, having jibe set around the mark over Johnny Burnson.
Well, he's looking to break back big time here, and we've seen a game of snakes and ladders really unfolding here.
Have a look at that. Now it's Burnson up against the ropes, trying to keep the match close, with Chris Steele stealing the lead downwind. And a big right-hand shift. So no more jibes into the mark. Steele looks as though he'll lay. And that was it, the jibe set from behind, big right-hand shift. Johnny Burnson went too far. Now, big puff of breeze has Burnson back in the match, though.
But the breeze all out of that right-hand side. And that will hand the advantage to Steele, who's leading around that mark. Heading off to the right-hand side. Tack from Burnson.
Less than a length. Nothing in this match so far. Both boats tacking on to starboard. Now Steele trying to defend. Burnson bow, accelerates bow forward, out of the tack.
Great tack from Burnson. Really trying to put Chris Steele back under pressure.
This has been great sailing so far here in the Super 16, as you'd expect. Top level of match racing at its best. Multiple lead changes in every match, and we've had another one here with Steele and Burnson. Burnson having the lead stolen from him by Steele in the first match, but it is close on this second upwind, leg 5 of 7.
Well, we're gonna have a room for land.
Burnson hanging in the lure position, looking to try and squeeze up to the line of Steele, managing to get that tack in. He knows that if he tacks too early here, Steele will have a piece of him. He's going to be driven right into that top left-hand corner. You've just got to try and time this right, keep it real tight, look for an opportunity to attack, and you can see Burnson absolutely dialed in, looking for when he can call for room. He's got his bow right up. They're both simultaneously tacking. Johnny eats the rocks, but Burnson's done a nice tack line. The Jenica coming out on Burnson. Steele just going through the gate. Burnson has his Jenica out already to try and get down there. Will he be able to hold that Jenica across this reach? That's going to be a question. Not sure that deploy was actually a good decision in the end.
Yeah, there was a hesitation on board, and for good reason. Now he's just rounding, but not before Steele extends downwind. This will be the final run to the finish on board with Burnson. You can hear the tension.
Yeah, just managing to ride that down. I think perhaps slightly closer than he'd have liked for a downwind. I don't really want to flip it in on the downwind if you can avoid it. But Steele has managed to eke that away. So setting a slightly lower angle. Just getting the VMG aspect to this leg a little bit more right. Burnson looking to stay high, looking to try and attack.
3, 2, 1.
Trying to close it down.
Burnson looking to jibe early, but that means he's definitely going to have another 2 to go before the final turn to the finish. Meanwhile, it's 1 and in for Chris Steele, looking to seal the deal at 2-0 over Johnny Burnson in a come-from-behind match. Beautifully sailed.
Stand by. 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Actually, 2 more jibes to go for Chris Steele as well. That could open the door for Burnson.
Well, leg 6 or 7, just the dash to the finish, and Steele just making sure for me here. Coming nice and tight and into the shore, turning down through towards the finish. Chris Steele coming from behind and now pointing down towards the finish. But he's only just laying down. Burnson now bringing his bow down and round and through. But Chris Steele from New Zealand has managed to come from behind, and he's now down and pointing down towards the line.
And with that win, Chris Steele will go 2 up over Johnny Burnson in a first to win 3 best of 5 here in Super 16. And a good effort for Johnny Burnson and crew from Sweden.
Burnson came so close in that match. A really, really strong effort. You sort of feel that scoreline doesn't really reflect the closeness of that match out there on the water.
So now we'll go back and relive that match. We begin again at the start.
There again, we've just seen these characteristic starts here in Marstrand of the leeward boat just trying to hold up that windward boat. Burnson in that leeward position, just able to bring his bow down a little sooner, leaving Chris Steele really floundering in the start. So great job to Burnson as he led off the line.
So it was all Burnson off the line.
But then closing in up at the top, Johnny Burnson bringing his bow down, but making a big gain on that right-hand side. Chris Steele able to come from behind and just get it nice and close. From here, he had a nice opportunity to try to attack. Coming through a nice early jibe. And then coming from behind, down that run in that windward position, able to lay down to the gate. And he was laying those bottom gates that really sealed the deal for Steele there. Leading around the bottom mark, Burnson super close.
Yeah, Burnson rides right up to him. Less than a length between the two teams.
And we had that tack out from Burnson, and Steele really just reacting quickly, tacking across. Burnson had some chances, but in the end, Steele holding Burnson all the way out to that left-hand corner. And then as they came out, Steele timing his tack away around and through those gates. Burnson trying to use his Janica there, and actually, I think that probably cost him a few lengths, but really, all the positional sailing was done by then. Steele able to hold the control of the race all the way out to that left-hand side, and then leading down and through the run, and then ultimately across the line to take the win.
So beautiful job, Chris Steele. 2-0 in a first to win 3, and that puts Johnny Burnson up against the ropes in their next match.
Well, what about that? We are getting ready for more racing. And listen, none of these races are done at all. Morski and Postma coming up next. That was an incredible battle.
Our next match, PJ Postma and Torvar Mirsky are tied at 1 win apiece in a first to win 3. Setting the stage for what has been spectacular sailing, particularly between those two. Looks as though we may be under a delay with the race course being shifted around by the committee. Marks are being pulled.
Well, we will be bringing you this match as soon as we can. I can actually see out on the race course the committee boat is moving. So they're just resetting the line. So there will be a bit of a hold. And we'll see more of this action. PJ Postma against Torvar Mirsky. That amazing battle still raging out there on the water.
So everybody treated to a little bit of a break as we reset the course this afternoon here in the race area on Marstrand. Beautiful weather conditions this afternoon.
I mean, if you're watching this stream from anywhere across Sweden, this is the place to be. I can tell you what, worth every one of those €2 to come over on the ferry and spend the day here at Marstrand. This is absolutely sensational. You can see stuff for the family to do all along the shore. Some amazing concessions and stalls and sponsors all displaying all along the beachfront, and the rocks packed with some of the most lovely people here in Sweden, all coming down, enjoying the racing, enjoying the food and the wonderful dining, bars and restaurants scattered all across Marstrand. You know, not least the wonderful VIP hospitality we have here, really on display here at the GKSS Match Cup Sweden. That's that tent off to the right. We're in that grandstand up here in the studio. Give you a little wave. There you go. Just above the flag. Down on the rocks. These rocks will be absolutely rammed with people by the time we get through to finals day.
Sweden treating the world to spectacular match racing action. This, the 23rd.
Now, Tucker, this is
Match Cup Sweden.
This is your first time in Marstrand.
First time, yeah.
You know, now, there's the important some facts here. They're just there. They call that's a Hansen Mount. So that whole island over there dedicated to the fans of Bjorn Hansen. Those guys, look, they turn up. That's not on the same island as we're on. That's a different island. And it's just these strange people here that worship Bjorn Hansen as an idol.
Hansen, match racing idol here in Sweden. Haven't seen him here this week. Well, as you can see, the wind has shifted, and we're going to take a 10-minute delay before rejoining the racing action here in Marstrand, Sweden. Once again, I'm Tucker Thompson with Simon Shaw. We hope you're having a good time this afternoon. We'll be back in a few moments.
No, it hasn't yet. I think they want to get it ready, maybe for later. All the boys. Have they? Relax. So where are the beer? Yeah, where is it? No, we get fed here. They give us food for the... Yes. Tonight they're having Swedish meatballs. I don't know what that is, meatballs. But the girls that are making them said, oh, they're lovely. So that's a traditional. Yeah, traditional. She said traditional. So I'm looking forward to that. It's with brown gravy. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Lovely. Yeah. Potato. That sounds very nice. Small red berries. Oh, is it? Yeah. Oh, lovely.
down to the yellow ring,
Right.
down to the red gate,
Yes.
up to the green gate,
Yes.
down to the red gate,
Oh, yeah.
up to the green gate,
Right.
and then down to the ridge mark.
Oh, right. Okay. That's quite a big race. Long course.
Yeah. It's quite narrow starting
Yes.
area.
They want to. When were they planning on? Was it 5 o'clock today to finish?
Is it?
I don't know. I think because we're going live, they have a certain window, you know, to film. After 5 o'clock, they have to stop it.
I don't know. Perhaps it's only 3 flights left.
Yeah.
Clarification about the boundaries. Boundaries are in effect
ease here between Mirsky and PJ Postma against Torvar Mirsky. 2 minutes 12 to go. Postma in orange, Mirsky in grey. And 2 minute gun into the entry. Postma in that windward position. Mirsky bringing his bow up, looking to try and hunt him out, but Postma just able to get his jibe in, bring his bow down. Through a jibe. Postma a little bit slow. Bring his bow down towards the start. Mirsky with the lead position. Postma looking to try and drive this pair back. Postma now turning up towards the line. With a small back. Postma doing 2 more tacks. Mirsky now, I think, leading back, looking on his final approach to the line. And a full circle from Postma. That's unconventional. 30 seconds to go. Postma, a big risk of being late here. Jenica coming out on board the Dutchman as he brings his bow back up. Mirsky now leading back, but Postma has accelerated well. The Jenica coming out now, Mirsky, but Postma coming in underneath him. Now can he force him over the line? Torvar Mirsky bringing his bow down and now straight back up. Postma turning, trying to look for the roll.
Even start for both boats. And we're off, but have a look at Postma trying to roll over the top of Mirsky. He's done it. Think of how many lead changes, though, we've seen between these two matches. So the big question now is Mirsky close enough to attack? Round mark number 1, Postma extends 5 lengths and counting, hull flying, and he's close to a jibe.
So down into the bottom corner, Postma continuing to lead, but Mirsky very tight on his stern. Down towards the bottom marks. Mirsky with his jibe away. We're following the boats down the harbour now. Wind shifting a long way round to the right-hand side. That's what required the reset and the pause.
There, the leeward gates left of screen with Postma leading and Mirsky on the attack. It'll be a left-hand turn, left-hand gate rather, for PJ Postma heading back upwind to the left side. Mirsky likely will set up for a split at the bottom gate, and he does, jibing around the right-hand gate as we look to the right upwind. Jenica staying unfurled, but a bit of trouble there for Mirsky and crew. Probably a communication error as they look to get that Jenica back in. The hull flying up to speed. Postma with no Jenica, just the main, heading to the left. Here comes the tack for Mirsky. All the way from the right-hand side at the exclusion zone. Meanwhile, Postma all the way off to the left, has already tacked onto port, and he'll cross.
So Mirsky heading off to the left. Postma has this race under control. Going for his tack. Let's try and cover Mirsky off to that left-hand side.
There's the view from to leeward of Mirsky as he sets up to tack onto port. And PJ Postma a little bit slow there in the middle of the track. He sailed through a lull. Just now getting up to speed. Still not deploying the Jenniker. I like Mirsky's setup, Mirsky's mode with the Jenniker out, Simon. To me, it looks like a gainer.
Well, he's looking strong. Postma is sailing in very left-hand air. He's sailing his own race as well. I like that. I think you have to be expansive in these light conditions.
But it does open you up to be a bit exposed if the trailing boat can get enough leverage to catch back up. Exactly that is what Mirsky's trying to do from the lower right-hand side of the racetrack, halfway up, leg 3 of 6 upwind. Two completely different modes. The Jenniker of Mirsky is just now furling, and PJ Postma having not deployed the Jenniker at all on this light upwind patchy beat. Looking here at Mirsky, the trailing boat. Mirsky, we've seen in all of these matches, he can never be written out of any of them. I'm sure that'll be weighing heavily on PJ Postma's mind as he tacks to cover. Still no Jenniker. Behind him, we do have a Jenniker again out on Torvar Mirsky.
Postma looking to try and keep control of this match, but leading around this top gate. Morski coming in from behind now with the tack.
Just looking to get enough pace on to get past that mark. Again, they can hit the marks. They just can't hook the ground tackle. Have they rounded clear? Yes. Mirsky just looking over his shoulder there
just
to make
checking
sure
the green mark wasn't chasing him down the racetrack there.
We've seen
but
it
this
before.
is a good split. He's got a good opportunity here. Postma's coming back to shadow him.
He's got a good amount of breeze too. Now, can Mirsky turn this into advantage? Now it's PJ Postma's turn to hook into a good puff of breeze. Hull flying, right hand shift, and he's on port. So he'll turn that into a gain over Torvar Mirsky.
This is going to turn into the full afternoon session here, Tucker, the way these races are playing out. We're looking at two matches that went 3-0 this morning. This afternoon it has been anything but. Down into the jibe. Postma still staying nicely between his competitor and the next mark. There, look, a shot across the harbour to see quite how strong Postma's looking at the moment. Lit up in Dutch orange flames. Coming down the run, past the castle, out in front of Mirsky. And down and around that bottom gate, Postma heading off to the left-hand side. The Flying Dutchman heading off to the left.
Again, choosing that left-hand side. Again, going upwind with no Jenniker in these light, patchy conditions. And there's a look at the difference. Mirsky giving chase, still well behind. Postma has gained.
And Postma is a real masterclass this. He's just minimized his risk, taken his opportunities. Mirsky's really had no options to try and break back. So up to the top mark and then down to the finish. This leg 5 or 6. We were at mark 4 or 5 before. It kind of changes.
So a downwind finish this time compared to the reaching that we've seen earlier. In this breeze direction, stretching the course all the way inside past the VIP lounge, who are getting treated to a great view off both sides of the deck. Better view than us, Simon. And of course, they've got an open bar. It's good to be VIP.
We have vitamin well awake waters, which I do love.
PJ Postma. All that training has paid off, certainly in this match. He'll tack on to starboard. And Torvar Mirsky still on port in the middle of the track. He just wrapped up his Jenniker. Still a lot more to play here, though, Simon, by the looks of it.
Well, he's found a way back in. Mirsky coming back in from that left-hand side. Postma. Now, is he going to lay the top gate? You can see there the yellow mark. I think that's just a passing mark.
Guys,
Okay, I'm filming then. Follow it.
Just adjusted every single style I have.
Mirsky with attack, and Postma, far left-hand side, has turned that into more of a gain.
So very close between those two, right at the top. But coming back from the left-hand side, Postma.
PJ Postma on his last run to the finish, and he's gained on every single leg in this match. First to win 3, best of 5 here in the Super 16 knockout round. These two teams tied on points going into this match. Things headed PJ Postma's way from the Netherlands as he heads for home to the finish in front of the grandstands in the VIP lounge here in Marstrand. Off to the far left-hand side, Postma will have one more jibe and then a little dip across the line here to seal the deal in race number 3. And that'll make the score 2-1 between PJ Postma and Torvar Mirsky.
And critically, that takes Postma up to match point. In under the castle. And wow, a hard-fought win here right in front of the crowds. Postma through the line. Look at that, smiles galore on board the Flying Dutchman's M32. Next, Torvar Mirsky coming down, unable to hold it together, but down but not out. We'll see plenty more from him as this all tracks back.
So Torvar Mirsky very strong in the first match, came from behind and passed PJ Postma. Postma took the second one, and Mirsky unable to capitalize and come from behind in the third one. But he'll have another opportunity to stay in this regatta in race number 4. But before that, we will move to Nicholas Dahlmer and Matt Jerwood. Just standing by for the race committee signals in just a few moments. Nicholas Dahlmer will be in the blue. Matt Jerwood will be in red. PJ Postma, there he is. Beautiful job. This new wind direction, we had a lot of tricky conditions at the top of the track. Now we've got much lighter conditions at the bottom of the track in this new wind direction. There is the 4-minute signal. Nicholas Dahlmer will be entering below the committee boat. Matt Jerwood in red above. Minute 45 to go to the pre-start entry. Once again, I'm Tucker Thompson, joined by two-time match racing world champion Simon Shaw. This is day number 3 of the GKSS Match Cup Sweden. Third stop on the 2017 World Match Racing Tour. Some of the biggest names in the game: Phil Robertson, Taylor Canfield, Ian Williams, yet to sail their matches in this Super 16 knockout round, as all teams look to make the quarterfinals and eventually the semis, as this regatta continues on here in Marstrand, Sweden. Possibly the best natural sailing amphitheater for match racing in the world. Flanked on both sides by high cliffs. Beautiful weather here and fantastic racing. 3 minutes to go till the next start. On board with Matt Jerwood. Finished second in Australia at the Australia Match Cup. Finished first in the top of his fleet racing qualifiers yesterday. Nicholas Dahlmer, local team from Sweden, has been training for this regatta. And the score between these two teams is 1-all. 20 seconds to go to the pre-start entry. Jerwood with the Jenniker out, already set to make a statement. A little bit early there. Meanwhile, Dahlmer to leeward. No Jenniker. He's on a thinner angle to get up to the line. Looks as though he will be late. Jerwood will be on time. Bang, there's the gun. 2-minute entry signal underway. Early on in the match there, a port starboard. Jerwood simply puts his bow down and gets across Nicholas Dahlmer, who jibes on his transom. Very tight quarters here in this new pre-start box, Simon.
Jerwood there just leading the pair right up down towards the cliffs, and we'll see throughout this week the team's trying to use the cliffs as a boundary, as an exclusion. And there Jerwood turning down, jibing, looking to use that cliff as a sort of blocker, if you will. Turning down now.
Very light conditions here at the top of the pre-start area.
And Jerwood there using the cliffs. You can see him there trying to block off the line of Dahlmer, make him go across the front. slightly overcooked it, and Dahlmer's actually rolled around the front. Now Dahlmer will lead back, having taken the lead in that lead follow in that bottom corner. I mean, Dahlmer's done a nice job there. Jerwood had a beautiful lead. He had all of the position. I think we have a penalty on Dahlmer. So he went in, he got the position, but he's picked up a penalty in the process.
Costly error for Dahlmer. That'll be affected right after the line. Matt Jerwood now takes an early advantage. Both boats headed to the line.
So there and across the line. Dahlmer has his bow up, but he has a penalty. Now, Jerwood needs to be conscious of actually going back to the line here. The gun has sounded. They are on leg one, but Jerwood is obligated to be doing what he needs to sail through the line. Now bringing his bow down, he's looking to try and maximize the loss to Nicholas Dahlmer, who has to drop completely behind him. Jerwood sailing through the lee. Dahlmer looking to try and be as up to speed as he can. A bit of a luff from Jerwood, but now we're underway. Dahlmer with his bow down.
Penalty's gone, and Dahlmer's right back in it. The delta barely 2 boat lengths between the two teams as Jerwood leads around mark number 1. Tricky race course in this new wind direction.
I mean, both boats did some quite good things in that pre-stop. In my view, Jerwood did a nice job of that lead back. Dahlmer did a good job of kind of snatching it back, but he did get a penalty. And actually, Jerwood did a nice job of trying to give Dahlmer a hard time. But actually, Dahlmer responded well. So both these teams, in my view, fighting right at the top of the game. And the gap still quite tight between them. But Jerwood critically has the lead as we track back across the course towards the castle. And we have generally seen that team in front get a little bit richer. There are opportunities for the follow boat to break back as Jerwood turns down into his jibe. Dahlmer looking to follow, going all the way to that exclusion, making sure he's laying that bottom gate. But down towards the bottom.
Jerwood. Left-hand side, just as we saw PJ Postma protecting that side of the bottom of the beat. Ahead of Nicholas Dahlmer, who will also follow. Nope, he won't. He'll split to the right-hand side.
And that's a big turn. Now, all the way around, he's almost gone 180 degrees there compared to the kind of 120, 110 of Matt Jerwood. That's a slower move.
Jeniker
he does
staying
have
up.
The split.
Interesting that in both teams, both matches rather, the lead team does not sail upwind with the Jeniker and the trailing boat does. And I wonder if that's almost, you know, when you're trailing, you're looking for almost more speed than you possibly can get. Some extra advantage.
Well, you're also looking to try something different, you know, as just conceptually. He also had a bigger turn, so he would have been slower out of that turn and thus needed a bit more horsepower to get going.
This time, no deploy as he hits the exclusion zone and Dahlmer heads on starboard, middle of the track, but not before Jerwood capitalizes on a big gain at the bottom of the upwind leg.
So in the middle of the course, Jerwood just sliding another tack through aboard the Turkish Airlines boat, shadowing Dahlmer all the way up, one apiece between these two. Whoever wins this next match will move to match point. But a big split. We're following Jerwood across the racetrack, and Dahlmer on the left, coming out of his tack, looking to try and strike back. And it's very light for both boats. Jerwood just bringing his bow up a little bit now. But he's nicely across the line of Dahlmer. He's a little bit further bowed down than I expected to see as they come back together. Really with a commanding lead. Jerwood continuing to lead. Leg 3 of 6.
On
of
board.
course, a lot longer in this wind direction.
Jerwood there just comfortably tacking to stay with his man. Turn this into a defensive race and keep things relatively conservative. Meanwhile, Dahlmer trying to split, trying to get a different piece of breeze from that right-hand side, but not necessarily that easy when your opponent sticks with you on the race course, and that's exactly what Jerwood is doing. Top of the track there. A deploy for Jerwood, and he's around, gaining on every leg so far. After a beautiful start, he's turned it into a big advantage.
And look at that, look at these boats sailing. Absolutely spectacular. Downwind, flying the hull down towards the castle here in Marstrand. Perhaps the world's home of match racing. And wonderful to see these boats performing so well with the world's top sailors all here competing. Matt Jerwood here making short shrift of one of the Swedish great white hopes, Nicholas Dahlmer. Down towards the bottom of the course, still out in front, dominating proceedings in this match, but it has been close, it has been closely fought. I'm sure we'll see more from these pairs as we move through this afternoon. Dahlmer now round at the top, looking to follow Jerwood down towards the bottom. But it has been a real masterclass from this man.
I'd say roughly in half of the matches we've seen today, the trailing boat has come from behind, even against large odds. However, having said that, this is one of the biggest race deltas that we have witnessed so far.
I think you get your opportunities for big breakbacks from behind, but generally the lead boat is extending, like on the kind of average, on the standard stuff, you know. And I think that's what Matt Jerwood has done a really good job of in this race. Just taking those opportunities to have no risk, but also extend through his, what could be his final jibe down towards the bottom gate.
Good left-hand puff there.
And there's the bottom mark, down and around, laying and in and onto his final upwind. Still sailing with 3 legs. We may see that cut, but the Super 16 round, very critical. You know, your survival in this competition really dependent on hanging in at this round.
Into the rocks. Jerwood looking to tack. Meanwhile, Dahlmer looking to try to catch up, and any opportunity he'll take. Closest the teams have been in quite a while there as they pass underneath the cliffs. Three wins will get you into the next round. I'm pretty sure Dahlmer will be keeping that in mind. If things stay as they are in this match, he'll just look to erase that from his memory and start with a fresh one in the next 4th match here. First to win 3, best of 5 in the Super 16 here in Marstrand, Sweden.
So up into the top corner. Dahlmer with attack right in here underneath the castle. Jerwood there in the middle of the race course. Just looking to tack to cover. Just staying between him and his man. Really shut down this race for Dahlmer.
This is one of those rich get richer type of race courses in these fluky conditions. The lead boat having the option to pick the shifts, get to the velocity first, and, as you say, Simon, stay between your man and the next mark. Textbook sailing for Matt Jerwood and crew from Australia.
Look at that weight right forward. On board with Jerwood. trying to maximize every single gain. And remember, listen, they may be leading at the moment, they may even feel pretty comfortable, but actually to win the GKSS Match Cup Sweden, you know, you have to learn and progress with every race that you sail. And Matt Jerwood and his team out there, they might be in front, or even for that matter, Nicholas Dahlmer, you know, they'll be looking to try and develop their style of sailing with every single race that they're on the water.
That's one thing that Phil Robertson said after winning the last regatta in Australia, is that their goal was to just try to find little small moments to gain in every single day that they were racing in the competition. Constant improvement, the name of the game here in the World Match Racing Tour, is the best in the game go head to head. The Super 16 will be whittled down to 8 and eventually 4 before we move into the semifinals and finals this weekend. Matt Jerwood deployed and around. This is the final run to the finish. Looking strong over Nicholas Dahlmer from Sweden. Not much else to say about that one, Simon. Beautiful, beautiful wire-to-wire match for Matt Jerwood.
I mean, you know, inch perfect. He's made this look pretty easy. But listen, this race course can be merciless. You know, the shifts with this wind direction, it moving round further to that right-hand side. The wind should be a little bit more consistent. You should see that right-hand side kicking a little bit more in the upwinds. But Dahlmer's going to have to dig deep in the next one. He's got to take the next 2 to hang in on this competition, and it will mean everything to him.
All the local fans watching from on shore. One of the great parts about stadium sailing is that the sailors can hear you out on the race course, and they love the support from the fans on shore here in Marstrand. Matt Jerwood heading for the finish line to go 2-1 over Nicholas Dahlmer. Victory for the Australians.
And you can see the debrief's already begun out there on the water for Dahlmer. Just trying to work out what's going to come next, what they need to do to try and come back and win the next 2. Well, Johnny Burnson up against Chris Steele. Burnson in the yellow boat, Steele in the dark blue. And on board with Team FLUX. That's Johnny Burnson.
Burnson really in a must-win situation here. First to win 3, and Steele is up 2. In that last match, Burnson led.
I mean,
all the way around the track.
Must-win. It is definitely must-win.
Swedish fans giving him lots of love and support here. Can Johnny Burnson stay in this regatta, or will he go home thanks to Chris Steele from New Zealand, looking to seal the deal 3-0. Coming up on the 2-minute mark, it'll be Chris Steele entering bottom of screen there to leeward or underneath the committee boat, signal boat. Meanwhile, Burnson, the yellow boat, above the signal boat. Both boats enter at the 2-minute gun, and here we go.
Coming up.
Burnson there in the yellow. Just rolling around the top. Steele looking to close down the gauge between the two. You can just see how close the start is to the rocks. Clearly going to come into play. As Steele turns down, Burnson looks for the inside. Steele looking to complete down onto starboard. Through he goes. Burnson looking to try and take that lead.
How close
is that? Very early lead back towards the rocks. And both boats now. Burnson will look to go absolutely dead slow, right in tight on the rocks. And that leaves Chris Steele nowhere really to go. Either stay behind or go above him and get left. However, with 1 minute and 16 seconds to go, Burnson has a lot of time to kill, and he is already quite deep in that starting area.
This is a game of who can go the slowest, letting the clock run out before both boats head for the line. Coming up to 1 minute.
I like Burnson's positioning now. Chris Steele, they were feigning up a little bit, but then actually starting to slow a little. You may start to see the push from both boats now. Burnson still staying tight in on the rocks. They'll be counting down the time and sailing back to the line. Burnson needs to win this. And you can just sense Burnson starting to turn up now, starting to think about that acceleration back towards the line. With every turn up, he's just assessing Chris Steele's angle. If he doesn't sense Chris Steele is pulling the trigger, he'll just wait a tiny bit longer. Doesn't want to get rolled here, Burnson. Now he has his bow up. Now, does he have a lock? Can he close down that gauge up towards Chris Steele? Love him out on the right-hand side. Only 19 seconds to go. Burnson in the lure position. Has control of this start. Looking to shut him out. Will he be able to shut him out on the boat? Chris Steele has a bit of his Jenica in, but Burnson coming up to try and close down the gauge between the two boats. Steele bringing his bow down now. His Jenica's out. Can he stay behind the line? Burnson coming up underneath, and a big luff from Burnson.
Wow, there's going to be a penalty on that. Burnson will have flagged it, but Steele wins the start and gets over Burnson's bow. Now, will there be a penalty, and will it go against Steele? Yes, Chris Steele has copped the penalty. Give the start to Johnny Burnson.
Well, Steele definitely at risk. Just bringing his bow down. Burnson looking to try and shut the door. Good sailing from Steele. It does look like that penalty's gone on our scoreboard, but I think it should still be there. We'll see, unless it was a mistake from the umpires.
Oh, they never make a mistake, Simon.
But we'll see. If that is offset, then it may well have been a penalty on Burnson.
Either way, it's clear on our screen, which means Steele is still out in front. Big left-hand shift has both boats still on starboard, heading to the leeward gate. Confirmation, no penalty flag. So advantage Chris Steele. He's already got 2 wins over Johnny Burnson, who now up against the ropes is looking for an opportunity to catch up. And it is straight into the leeward mark. Big left-hand shift on the race course. No surprise, Steele will head to the left around the leeward marks. But Burnson well close enough to keep the game within range. It'll be Steele into the rocks looking to tack. And I just wonder if Burnson's going to tack early and try to get his bow into some breeze in the middle of the course. He actually leads Steele through the tack. I wonder if that's going to be a good move for Johnny Burnson. You can hear onboard audio from Burnson discussing whether they should deploy. I think that's a big gain to Johnny Burnson, at least from this angle. He's bow forward, he's to the right. Now the question is the Jenica the right call? And I think it is. Steele has better speed and just getting his bow into a little bit of breeze there. Burnson perhaps should have deployed maybe 2 lengths ago.
Well, interestingly, they both look overpowered now. I think Steele actually going for his furl away. I think Burnson got that all wrong. He needed his Jenica out when he didn't, and now he's got his Jenica out when he doesn't.
He had the wrong sail up at the right time and the right sail up at the wrong time. What do we do? Listen to Burnson. He's struggling on board, the tension increasing. And Steele back in control with the matchup win. But Burnson is close. Things seem to have settled down a little bit for the Swedes.
Now Steele going a little slower. I think perhaps small gains back to Burnson. He's on the lower VMG. I think net gains have been to Steele across this on the kind of Jenica test. Having the right sails up at the right time.
Stand by.
The gauge between the two boats.
It's quite far. It's quite far.
Burnson talking about attack. He's been the aggressor, interestingly, in each of these moves. Not going all the way to boundary, trying to beat his opponent to the next maneuver. And Steele will decide whether he wants to tack right on top of Burnson. On board with Burnson. Another Jenniker deploy. Steele has tacked on top of him, and no Jenniker from our lead boat.
Interesting to see Johnny Burnson redeploy the Jenniker there. I wasn't expecting that. I thought we'd see him actually go for the furl and just carry on, because Chris Steele continuing without the Jenniker.
You can hear them talking about it.
But he has a nice cover position, Chris Steele. He's under control.
Filling in. 3, 2.
And there the Jenniker finally going away.
Stand by. 2, 1. Here we are.
And there the tack up at the top.
Got it.
Steele into the set. Burnson has kept things close enough. He's dropped back a little bit in the past 60 seconds or so, I'd say.
And he's not laying the mark. And you know what? I think Johnny Burnson just hasn't got this beat quite right. He had opportunities to strike back. He has just laid up, but you just feel it's been that decision to have the Jenniker up there at different times that's just really just handed the lead back to Chris Steele. Now, that's not to say he's not going to strike back.
Now, the good news is he's in a good puff of breeze right now, and usually the trailing boat has the advantage downwind.
Yeah, we'll see. Burnson now looking to try and strike back. Steele now nicely tracking down the course. Red leg 4 of 6. Now the jive from Burnson, ready to follow Steele down the run.
Steele in a big left-hand shift. That could lay him right down to the leeward gates.
Stand on mode, stand on mode.
So Steele continuing to gain in a race that would see him move on to the semifinals, quarterfinals rather, as our Super 16 qualifying round continues here in Marstrand, Sweden.
And if this result stands, we will see Johnny Burnson eliminated. And then we'll just be looking elsewhere to see who wins out of Postma and Mirsky. Dahlmer and Jerwood.
Dahlmer keeping Sweden's hopes alive here in the GKSS Match Cup Sweden if things stay as they are with Johnny Burnson. Long-time champion match racing sailor here from Sweden.
We also have Mans Homburg to come tomorrow.
Going for the
Just having a look at Burnson there at the leeward gates.
And Steele around.
Steele, sorry.
Heading off to that left-hand side. There's a little wave to Johnny Burnson as he comes past down at the bottom of the racetrack.
I wonder if Burnson's going to split here.
Oh, I think it'll be an easy choice. In he comes. Burnson's going to come in. You know what? If you're lining the castle now here underneath, now's your time to cheer on Johnny Burnson as he comes past the castle, comes past the grandstand.
He's going to need it.
He needs to mount a comeback. We're going to see Sweden break back in this match. It's going to have to happen now.
I think we can do more than that, folks. Let him hear you. Johnny Burnson and crew.
Here we go.
Trying to keep Sweden's hopes alive in this match against Chris Steele.
Well, there the tack. See across to Chris Steele. About that, you know, I sensed, you know, whenever you miss a whole day of sailing, that's a whole day you miss to learn, to progress as a team. And so, you know, I felt the likes of Canfield and Williams and Homburg sort of really keen to be out there racing. And you know what, I think they would have sat in the grandstand today, watched the racing out there and said, I'll tell you what, you guys can have that. That looks pretty tricky stuff from where we're sitting.
Taylor Canfield told me he's working on his golf game today as he stands by to face his opponent tomorrow. Some of the big names: Phil Robertson, Ian Williams, Taylor Canfield, yet to sail here in Sweden in the Super 16. And back on the race course, has Burnson caught up a little bit to Chris Steele? There's the view from your leader. I think he has. 1.5 more legs to go for Johnny Burnson, looking to keep his hopes alive in this regatta, or for Chris Steele to move on into the quarterfinals.
Are we all in?
I just wonder if Burnson is making a charge here. He's in better breeze. He's made a small gain. He still looks as though he's going the right way breeze-wise. Jenneker being deployed from Steele, the lead boat, in very light conditions on the upper left-hand side. Perhaps sailing a little bit too expansively. We'll see. Here comes Burnson into the tack.
Is it a deploy, maybe? Could be a deploy?
Now, this is his opportunity. Can he break back? Steele coming back from that left-hand side. Has got another tack to do before he gets to ley line. And Johnny Burnson, coming back in.
Burnson's door might be opening here.
And Mirsky, sorry, Burnson coming in.
Look at that.
Starboard.
He is close enough, folks, and there's a penalty there from onboard Burnson. Now, if Steele gets a penalty, the race will shift to Burnson. The umpire, the race is in the umpire's hands right now.
I'm not sure what Burnson's quite flagging for. I think feeling that Steele didn't do enough in tacking round, didn't keep clear. Looked clear to me.
Well, no penalty
But this is
yet.
his opportunity through the jibe. Now can Burnson break back? He's trying to fight to stay in the competition. If Steele in the blue manages to hold in, he will eliminate Johnny Burnson as they come down the final run. Steele going slightly faster in the lower position, pointing down towards the finish now. We're on leg 6 of 6. It's now or never for Burnson. And at the moment, Chris Steele slightly extending away. Can Burnson come from behind? He's bringing his bow up a little bit. He's dropped out of the pressure, but what will happen in the final few seconds down towards the line? Steele currently coming down, chasing the breeze, riding his lead down towards the finish. And the sand slipping out the bottom of the hourglass for Johnny Burnson. But Chris Steele's just hit a big hole. Steele now slow, bringing his bow up, and it's Johnny Burnson's opportunity to move. Here he goes, down into his final jibe. The final roll of the dice for Burnson. Jibing across onto port, tracking back towards the finish line, right in front of the castle here in Marstrand. And Johnny Burnson is fast. Chris Steele looking to try and block the advance of Johnny Burnson, who needs to pick up a puff now if he's going to have a chance. And it's going to need to be a big one. Steele blocking off Burnson at every turn. Just one more turn to go for Steele, and he will eliminate Johnny Burnson.
Oh, so close for Johnny Burnson's hopes to stay in this regatta. He almost had Steele, but it's not to be. 3-0 over Burnson is Chris Steele from New Zealand.
Well, that confirms yet another of our quarterfinalists. Chris Steele through.
You could feel for Burnson and crew, though. Their spirits picked up. They were right back in that match at the top of the track.
You have to look back to some of those decisions. Perhaps having that Jenneker up on the upwind. Very difficult decision making out there on the racetrack.
So now we shift over to PJ Postma and Torvar Mirsky. Match point for both teams. And they're already in the pre-start. Well, about a minute, 40 seconds to go, and we'll get into the pre-start. Here we go. It is Postma in orange and Mirsky in blue. Gray, sorry.
Well, if Postma wins, he will advance. Morski has to win this to advance up to 2-2.
There's the 1 minute signal. As both boats tack back away.
You know what? I'm looking up into the sun. I'm
It's tough to tell, isn't it?
Tell them apart. I think that's Mirsky. I'm sort of recognizing that body language.
It's gray. It's a gray boat. So that is Mirsky. Meanwhile, Postma has already tacked up above him. 38 seconds to go, and Mirsky is dangerously slow.
Yeah, I mean, Mirsky trying to make a turn, and he's absolutely parked up. Postma coming back with a little bit more speed. The Flying Dutchman looking to try and take the lead, bringing the bow down in the orange. He will, I'm sure, turn up in front of Mirsky here. Look to try and lock him out. Final 20 seconds. Mirsky now moving. Postman's got to be careful. He doesn't get too slow. Mirsky coming in above the line of the Dutchman. Now can PJ Postma react? He's already brought his barrel right up. Looking for a luff. Final few seconds. Inside the final 5, and Mirsky starting to move, and Mirsky finding a way to come over the top of PJ Postma, and absolutely dead even.
I wonder if either boat was over early. Both boats incredibly close. PJ Postma with his bow down, trying to keep his air clear. All clear. The start goes to Postma, but they are overlapped into Mark 1.
I mean, absolutely sensational start from both teams there. Postma just holding on to the inside. Mirsky threatening the roll as hard as he could, and now bringing his bow down inside the line of Postma. Mirsky is not going to go down in this match without a fight as he locks onto the stern of PJ Postma. Both boats really low, already laying down, I think, to the bottom gate. We've had a big shift back to the left-hand side at the moment.
Well, that's going to help your leader. With no jibe in this first run, or reach rather, big left-hand shift has PJ Postma leading into Mark 2, the leeward gates. And it'll definitely be a right-hand turn around the left-hand gate as we look upwind on the racetrack.
Well, this is certainly going to ask questions of Mattias Dahlstrom, the principal race officer. He's going to have to react quickly to try and move this race around. But both boats will, as you say, Tucker, have to round that right-hand mark as we look downwind. I think actually I say that. I think Torvald Mirsky may have taken the opposite one. I mean, that is going to be a massive loss.
Big gamble as Mirsky heads to the right to try and gain somewhat of an advantage in a very heavily left-hand race course.
Well, it was, right, you know, maybe the wind is shifting. You know, we may well see, looking at the angles out of that bottom mark, Mirsky's doesn't look too bad, actually. He's getting rid of that Jenica now. And PJ Postma is kind of parked over on that side. Now, the wind may be in the left, but at the moment, it is Mirsky that's moving quicker through the water. It's a big risk to round that mark, but you just don't know. I think the advantage should go to PJ Postma. He's got a massive structural gain, if you like, on the shift by rounding that mark and crossing to the left-hand side.
But he is very slow looking out on the race course. The breeze that Mirsky is in has not hit PJ Postma yet.
Well, we'll see. Into the top, Mirsky really rolling the dice. PJ Postma is bringing his Jenica out, and Torvald Mirsky, after making, I mean, this would be one of the greatest gambles of this competition so far. Picking absolutely the wrong gate, unquestionably the wrong gate for shift, but for pressure, at the moment he's leaving PJ Postma foundering. I mean, it looks like PJ's got plenty of breeze, but he just seems to be kind of all bunched up, deploying the Jenica, de-deploying the Jenica. Now the boat's coming back together.
Cross.
And Mirsky coming back from the right-hand side. Now his Jenica going away. And the boats are pretty even. PJ Postma still with a small lead. We can see the top gates just looming into view at the right-hand side of the screen. There, the green marks at the top of the racetrack.
Well, Mirsky did what he needed to do to try and reel in PJ Postma. Was it enough? No, but it's close enough for him to try and attack again. However, I think the next shift is going to the right, and that's where PJ Postma, your leader, is headed.
Well, you know, to pick and get the benefit of a big left-hander like that at the bottom, that's one thing. But then to pick it and go to the right and get a big right-hander at the top, you know, you must have been doing something right, helping the grannies carry their shopping across the street, or
I don't know if it's a right-hander, but it's a little bit more breeze. It just seems to me, even though the angle is strong to the left, on the lower part of the racetrack, you get up under the headlands, as PJ Postma did, and run out of velocity. Now, Torvald Mirsky is headed to the far left-hand side, under the headlands. He's got left angle, but he's deployed the Jenica in light airs. Having said that, though, the game might be shifting back in the Australians' favor.
We just see it's difficult to know whether to have that Jenica out or not. We're right on the crossover. You need it for the acceleration, but as soon as you're starting to move, you want to furl it back away.
They had a little bit of a puff there, and then it dissipated. Well, PJ Postma, round the top mark, has held off Torvald Mirsky. This leg 3 of 5. 2 more legs to go if you are a fan of the Australian team. Now, which mark will they choose at the top of the track? Attack, set, or a set and then a jibe?
think we'll certainly see the rounding the mark straight. I'm not even sure we'll see them jibe straight away. I think we might see them cross to this near side of the harbour. That's where the better pressure has been. I think all the shifts are done. They'll go as far as they can to get to the ley line. PJ Postma's trying to shadow him in that same approach. And he has a significant lead now, PJ Postma, but with holes like we've seen on this racetrack, it is genuinely never over. But he has the 2-to-1 advantage, and he currently has the lead. And this would see Postma, our final team to advance through to today. This would make this the final match of today's broadcast. And down into the jibe. Mirsky trying to attack the line of Postma, but just feels like Postma's really banked a bit of a gain on that last beat.
Yeah, PJ Postma, this is a different team than we saw in Australia, in Perth, earlier this year. And all that training seems to have paid off. While Torvar Mirsky was with you and I, Simon, at the America's Cup watching boats race, PJ Postma was training in his M32s. And that training has definitely paid off as he looks to seal the deal over one of the bigger names in the game and put his stamp on Match Cup Sweden.
I mean, right now, following that drone down, you can see there is a bit of breeze with Torvar Mirsky. He is eating into, with every second, that lead of PJ Postma, who's a little slow but out in front. I think Postma is trying to lay down to that bottom gate. There he is. The H2, both holes in the water configuration.
Slow at the bottom of the track.
But look how much he's made up.
Yeah, Mirsky coming on strong from behind with breeze and pace. And Postma had to head down very low and slow. Now it's going to be Mirsky's turn, however, to do the same.
Another very difficult decision, and he's rounding the same mark. I think that's the right one. He took that gamble last time, ended up with a lot more pressure, and just about managed, I suppose, to offset the loss that he made by going to the wrong mark. But in this instance, looking to carry on. Janica out, follow Postma over to this left-hand side, hang in this race. He is close enough to take an opportunity. You don't have to create opportunities. You have to wait for them. And I think that's right. Torvar Mirsky following Postma over to the left-hand side. I'm sure we'll see him try and go as high as he can and just stay tight. He is very close now. This race far from over.
That's for sure. 2 more legs to go. 1 more lap before the finish. Can PJ Postma hold off Torvar Mirsky? Or will the crafty Australians find a way to get back in this match? At this stage, the breeze is dropping all the way across the course. It's getting lighter for Postma, and that'll make it trickier to stay ahead as he goes into the Jenniker deploy.
Yeah, he's definitely got Jenniker out, looking to try and hold on to that lead. Torvar Mirsky had the opportunity to get a Jenniker snap, and PJ Postma just put it back away again. You can see they're all slightly second-guessing themselves. Mirsky following in with that Jenniker up, flying the hull, and actually sailing in a much higher angle. Mirsky taking a bit of a split in the breeze here, looking to scallop off the line and up away from PJ Postma, they're in very different breezes. Mirsky in a bit more of a left-hander and in lighter conditions. It's about VMG evens between these two. But still the split continues, and I prefer the moding of Postma. I think Mirsky's really sort of fighting to keep that Jenniker up a little.
Postma into attack.
Mirsky's crossing the line of Postma further to that right-hand side. I don't think Postma is laying, so we may well see Torvar Mirsky go a little bit further. If he hits a big puff, we may see that Jenniker come down and look to roll into the tack. There he goes.
Meanwhile, a good puff of breeze to PJ Postma. And that'll help maintain his lead.
Well, he has 1 tack more to do. Torvar Mirsky will have a split at the top unless we see an extra tack from Postma.
Now something's going on Mirsky's boat there, Simon? They just seem to really hit the brakes. All the crew seem to be looking at something. I'm not sure what it is.
Well, they're moving fast now. Coming back from the right-hand side, Torvar Mirsky up to speed. PJ Mosberg coming back slow and on port into that top gate. And it's suddenly going to get very close very quickly. Postma looking for the cross. And he is across. But not much to pick between the two. Mirsky coming in with good speed.
Certainly found a way back into this match.
Now let's see what happens as we come down the run. Mirsky now around his top gate. Postma still has the lead. He still has an advantage. And Mirsky with an early jibe. Postma's got good pressure, but I wonder if the wind has gone all the way round to the left. That may hand an advantage for the shift to Mirsky.
I think it has. I think it's a lot closer than it looks here overhead. As both boats head for the finish, Mirsky has jibed. This is the moment will tell whether he has caught up to PJ Postma or whether Postma can hold him off to the finish.
I mean, Postma's moving very well at the moment. I think Torvar Mirsky in slower pressure. The wind is round in the left. That shift will be helping Postma all the time, and it's disadvantaging Mirsky. And the Flying Dutchman comes flying past one last time. Out into the lead in the orange. Leg 6 of 6. And this will see yet another of our quarter-finalists confirmed. Just down and through the line to go for Postma. And Mirsky, he's fought hard the whole way around. He's looked for those opportunities when they come. But in the end, the Dutchman has just proved too strong.
And he's come a long way for a short sail here in Sweden. As PJ Postma heads for home, looking to seal the deal 3-1 over Australian Torvar Mirsky.
So coming into the line on the port jibe. Just one more turn to go and he'll be through the line. It has been a very closely fought battle. But Postma turning down, taking the applause of the crowd as he turns down underneath the castle to confirm his place through into the quarterfinals.
Beautiful job, PJ Postma and crew. And you can see celebration aboard, well earned. So there we have it. Another quarterfinalist determined. And all eyes will now shift to Nicholas Dahlmer and Matt Jerwood. Dahlmer 2-1 over Jerwood. If Dahlmer can seal this up, he'll move on. 3-1 over Matt Jerwood. Meanwhile, Matt Jerwood up against it. Has to win this one and then the next one. And force a late afternoon here in Marstrand to move on into the quarterfinals. 2 minutes, 30 seconds to go, and it's going to be Nicholas Dahlmer in blue, Matt Jerwood in red. Dahlmer entering on the top of the screen there. Or Jerwood, rather, top of the screen, I think. And Dahlmer here on the bottom.
Well, it's been a little bit of a Swedish bloodbath. Jerwood entering above the committee boat.
There it is, the 2-minute entry period with the Jenniker at Matt Jerwood, orange boat. Into a jibe, setting up behind Nicholas Dahlmer. Dahlmer keeping Sweden's hopes alive in this regatta. Minute 40 to go. Into the rocks. Dahlmer leading Jerwood. Dahlmer slowing down, very much like we saw Johnny Burnson do in the last match, shutting the door for Jerwood, not giving him an advantage to get a hook.
Now what I like about what Jerwood's done there, rather than just turning and following, he's actually tacked up, so he's left a bit of separation. Gives him an opportunity to try and chase Dahlmer down, try and build some speed. He has the audacity here to pull out his Jenniker and actually come fast at Dahlmer. I think he has some kind of an opportunity to try and break back. And here he comes. Jenniker coming out. Dahlmer looks to respond. Needs to get fast. Jerwood there, just perhaps a little bit too low. And here he comes. Jerwood bringing the bow down. Now can he go in and hook Dahlmer? Almost has an opportunity just to start above him. 25 seconds to go.
That could have been a mistake.
I mean, it's a tricky one. Final 19 seconds. Dahlmer's actually just got his timing really strong. Really gives very little opportunity for that trailing boat. If I try and roll, I'll be early. If I try and hook, I'll be late. That's really the question. You want that follow boat to be asking. And in the final few seconds, down and across the line. Absolutely bang on from Dahlmer. First class start.
Perfect
Trying to
start,
keep Sweden's hopes alive here.
However, Matt Jerwood up to pace. He's hanging in there. It's bow to bow at this stage, with Dahlmer only just holding off Jerwood into Mark 1. In fact, look at Jerwood with speed. He's trying to roll, but on the inside, Dahlmer looks like he's going to hang on to it, but he's got his work cut out for him as we head downwind. Mark 1 belongs to Dahlmer, but Jerwood is right there.
Well, look at that. I mean, I think with the wind shifting around, bit of a luff from Dahlmer, looking to try and close down the gauge between him and Matt Jerwood. Closing it down. Dahlmer with the attack on the downwind. Jerwood, I think, has kept clear, but a good move from Dahlmer. He's managed to turn that into a length or two. He now brings his bow down, and the wind has shifted. As it's happened, that is all shifted round to the left. And now, Nicholas Dahlmer extending away. The jibe from Jerwood, that's with the shift going to hurt him quite a lot.
But Dahlmer's going to stay with him. Very aggressive defensive move there to stay that close in these conditions. And now the puff shifts to Jerwood. He's up to speed faster, flying a hull, looking to roll over the top. And when they jibe, he'll be on starboard. If he can get a piece of Dahlmer rather, will try to stay bow forward in the next jibe. Here it comes. He's got it. Tell you what, though, Jerwood is not rolling over, is he?
I mean, he'll be throwing everything at it. I think the question mark I've got for Matt Jerwood right now is he going to lay? He has to lay from here. They are both pointing down. I think he's got a good shot at it. But Dahlmer leaving nothing to chance. Aggressive defense. There's the bottom gate. Dahlmer definitely making it down. But will Jerwood have to soak? If he does, that will be a massive advantage. And it is. Look, Jerwood not laying, not quite. Now, that will give him a split, but it's a lot of extra distance to sail, and that will be a big advantage to Dahlmer. Yeah, look at that.
Those two jibes are going to be very costly.
That is a shocker. And so that opportunity to attack wasn't really there. And so Jerwood really clutching at that a little bit, you know. It felt nice. You were kind of saying, oh, look, he's giving it some, but he wasn't really going to roll Matt Jerwood there. And now, well, as I say that, he's closing right back up. I mean, this race course here in Marstrand keeps giving to us in the TV commentary and out across the crowds here, all enjoying the racing. Keeping it, the sailors really on the edges of their seat. I mean, they're more than on the edge. They're certainly absolutely teetering on the edge.
Dahlmer with the Jenniker deploy. Looking good, much to the delight of the hometown crowd here in Marstrand.
I like Matt Jerwood's positioning there, up on that left-hand side. If anything, this wind is going round to the left. That would give an advantage to Jerwood over on that side of the racetrack.
But they've got to spend extra distance and time in the lull to get over there. Then once they come around the headland, there's usually a shift waiting for them.
Well, let's see. This is as much about the Jenniker decision as well, and actually not a huge amount of leverage between the two. Perhaps Jerwood only 3 or 4 lengths above the line of Nicholas Dahlmer, who's just continuing to extend at the moment.
Yeah, he's getting his bow into fresh pressure out to that middle of the racetrack coming from the right-hand side.
And why wouldn't you go all the way to exclusion zone if you're Nicholas Dahlmer out now? You know you've got the competitor pointing at your stern. So tracking from that right-hand side, Dahlmer still out in front. Listen, if Dahlmer wins this, it will go to 2-2, and we'll go to a final death match between these two sailors.
Wait, if he wins this?
Into his final tack, up at the top of the race course. Nicholas Dahlmer looking to try and complete through in very light conditions. Just waiting for that snap of the Jenica until they're bows down and onto angle. Great sailing from Dahlmer there. Looking to try and throw this back in the face of Matt Jerwood. And this Swede is not going down without a fight. Round the top mark. Out in front. On port jibe, coming down into the center of the course, I think looking for that maximum amount of breeze. Jerwood has now completed onto port as well, but very slow up at the top. Jenica coming out on board the Turkish Airlines boat now, but not quite snapping in as perhaps they'd like. Now they're in. Dahlmer is already through his jibe, pointing down towards the bottom gate. Big gain to Nicholas Dahlmer. Jerwood now round there, flying the hull. Nice fast rounding for him. But this right now is the Nicholas Dahlmer show.
Well, he's definitely done what he needs to do to keep hopes alive for Sweden in this regatta. That last little puff is certainly going to help him head straight into the finish line. Much to the delight of the crowd here in Marstrand. Stadium sailing at its best. This is where the sailors can hear you, folks. And Dahlmer's going to want to hear from all of you on shore. It'll now go to 2-all with this win. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Nicholas Dahlmer. Now he's just got to keep things conservative, keep it together for one more lap.
So round they go, back onto the upwind. Dahlmer leading off to that left-hand side. Leg 5 of 6. It's a 3-lapper here, guys.
And this time a strong left-hand stinger is coming from around the headland. Even though Dahlmer has the Jenica up, when he hits it, it's likely he'll get rid of it upwind. And I wonder, Jerwood there likely has followed around.
You can just see the smiles
same mark
all across the grandstand here, Tucker. They're loving this Swedish sailor out in front. So over to the left-hand side of the racetrack, Dahlmer continuing to lead. And big left-hand shift has actually really allowed him to close this race down. You can see him there flying the hull, keeping that bow right up. Keeping his Jenica in play, very much up range. Now just breaking it away now. But this will take this race to 2-2. And you know what? These sailors are going to have to dig real deep out there on the racetrack. Who wants it more? Who has more left in the tank? Dahlmer really throwing the gauntlet down to Matt Jerwood in this race. looking for the tack. We may well see Dahlmer deploy the Jenica, I think, out of this one. So he comes up towards that ley line. We'll want to get it right.
This time, Dahlmer keeping a tight cover on Jerwood, not giving him any opportunity. And I think he wants this race.
I think he's on ley line as well, trying to make sure he gets up and in. And he did deploy Jenica, just trying to make sure he had all the horsepower at his disposal as he tracks across. He will do one more tack. I think that's really about staying out in the center of the current.
So now rounding the top mark, Dahlmer will head for home. Pretty comfortable at this point, although we have said that before.
Yeah, you never say never in Marstrand. But at the moment, Dahlmer is looking very strong. Matt Jerwood almost stationary in the middle of the upwind.
Tell you what, this is going to set up one nail-biter of a final finish. Sparks will definitely fly, and I would look for Jerwood to be pretty aggressive after this loss.
You can't beat a final winner-take-all match in Marstrand with one of the Swedish heavyweights taking part. Dahlmer through his, pointing down towards the bottom mark. Looks to have this nicely under control. Just the sail to the finish to go, and then we'll be getting ready for a decider match. Final tack from Jerwood. Looking for some kind of a split, but I mean, at the moment, this is the Nicholas Dahlmer show. And we will get ready here. If you're walking along the shore, if you're in the grandstands, if you're watching with us on Facebook, keeping track with us on Twitter, @WorldMRT, we just have one more match to go today if this result stands.
And just a few more meters left to keep this result as Nicholas Dahlmer. The final jibe to the finish. Give him credit in this race. It hasn't been easy for him. Now squaring it up at 2-all in a first to win 3, best of 5 here in the Super 16 qualifying round. All teams looking to move on into the top 8 quarterfinals after today. And one big question aboard this Swedish team is, will it be Nicholas Dahlmer?
Well, in front of a home crowd,
would have something to say about it.
I mean, in front of a home crowd and against all odds, coming into this race down, but not out, and proving that in emphatic style. Down and pointing to the line. Nicholas Dahlmer takes the applaud of the local crowds here. And we will move to one more match. A winner-take-all sail-off between Matt Jerwood and Redline Racing and Nicholas Dahlmer.
Well, he's done what he's needed to do to stay in this regatta. A beautifully sailed race. Certainly well earned. And questions will now be asked of Matt Jerwood and crew approaching the line next. And now crossing the line. In match racing, as we all know, second place doesn't count. Matt Jerwood will also have one more chance to stay in this regatta.
Now, Tucker, I don't know about you, but we're talking about this morning we were cold, and now I'm hot. Sweden, the sun is baking down all across the rocks, all across the grandstand, into the VIP area, along the footpath.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm Tucker Thompson, joined by Simon Shaw. We're live here in Marstrand, Sweden. The 23rd year of the GKSS Match Cup Sweden. Third stop on the 2017 World Match Racing Tour. Some of the top match racing teams in the game are here, all looking for victory. In order to get there, we've got to make it through the Super 16 round. 3 teams have already been determined. to go on into the quarterfinals. Jan Guichard, Chris Steele, PJ Postma. And now this match will determine whether Niklas Dahlmer from Sweden or Matt Jerwood from Australia will be the fourth team to move on. Then much more to come here tomorrow afternoon. We'll see a lot more racing to come. Have yet to see Taylor Canfield, Mons Holmberg, Phil Robertson, Chris Snow, Ian Williams. So once again, Jan Guichard, David Gilmore, Chris Steele, and PJ Postma are through into the quarterfinals. In just a few minutes, the start of the final race between Dahlmer and Jerwood. Four-minute signal has gone, so they're going to waste no time getting into this final match here in Sweden. Almost 5:30, long day of racing here in beautiful Marstrand. Will it be Niklas Dahlmer or Matt Jerwood? We'll know in just a few minutes. Once again, Jerwood in the orange boat. Sorry, Jerwood in the red boat, Dahlmer in the blue. 3 minutes coming up. 1 more minute to go to the pre-start entry. A long day of racing as Sweden has shown us her best here in Marstrand, perhaps one of the best natural sailing amphitheaters in the world. Crowds expected to build as we approach the weekend, and only one of these teams will be left standing on stage to be determined the winner of the GKSS Match Cup Sweden. 15 seconds to go now, the final entry of the final start of the final race between Niklas Dahlmer from Sweden, Matt Jerwood from Australia. Okay, stand by. That's not the 2-minute signal. So we're going to reset the clock, give you guys an update. Okay, so now we've been told we are under postponement. Not sure why at this point, but we'll give you an update when we have it.
I mean, I can tell you, Tucker, my guess is it's because the wind is shifting a lot, and it's been doing that a lot all day. I mean, Matthias Dahlstrom, the principal race officer out there on the water, has been working. I mean, it doesn't feel like it's been shifty, does it? You know, we haven't been watching the courses being massively one-sided. Haven't really seen, but it's been shifting through like 45 degrees, and somehow he's been orchestrating this racing out there on the water. So it's just been perfect in almost every match. And, you know, I think, you know, finally there, the wind catching up with him, he had to do a little bit of a reset. But you know what? They are going to want to get this race absolutely bang on right. It's the, you know, gone through to 2-2. It's 5:30. We've only got we got 4 more hours of sunlight to go. And only 1 more race, so we're good for time. You know, The only thing you and I have got to do after this is we will be hosting the press conference immediately after the race, which Tucker Thompson will be doing down on the main stage. We'll be doing a little bit of a wrap, and remember, you can keep track of all of the updates across this event on Facebook/World Match Racing Tour. It is on Twitter at World MRT. You can actually get me at Simon Shaw UK on Twitter if you kind of want to heckle the commentators direct. We are on Instagram/World Match Racing Tour, where Ian Roman, the event photographer, is posting some most sensational pictures. So feel free to reshare those with your friends. Just grab any of the content off the Twitter feed, repost it, reshare it. It's all about just getting the message out there and sharing, you know, what we're really trying to create here in this wonderful regatta. You know, this, in my view, one of the best sailing regatta in the world. You know,
absolutely.
The crowds, the sailing, the sunshine, the competition. I mean, we were just sat here next to the Sailors Lounge, and you know, different teams kind of dropping back through, and you can see the pain on people's faces after they've lost. You know, this competition really, really matters to people, and you know, we forget that here in the commentary booth. You know, we're just kind of hanging out, talking about the sailing and wondering about what we're going to do next. But, you know, people's careers are on the line out there on the water. And all of Sweden, the whole of Sweden really flocks down to sit here, look out onto the water and keep track of the action. And one more race to go. And for all the Swedes here on Marstrand, this is a race where we are going to be battling it out to see whether your countryman Nicholas Dahlmer and ESSIQ Racing can stay in the competition. And it's going to come down to the winner of this race making it through. Will it be Matt Jerwood of Redline Racing, or will it be Nicholas Dahlmer from Sweden of ESSIQ Racing? So 4 minutes to go. So there, 3 minutes, and we are getting ready for racing. We are getting ready and under starters' orders. And it's going to come down to this. This is going to be a massive match. And I tell you, those sailors out there on the water will have their hearts in their sleeves. Both of these skippers really vying to get into that, onto that sort of top run of world sailing.
So the final deciding match, both boats about to enter the pre-start. 2 minutes coming up. Dahlmer will enter to windward above the signal boat. Matt Jerwood to leeward. As the day ticks down, the tension definitely builds up for both of these teams. Dahlmer looking to keep Sweden's hopes alive in this regatta. Here comes 2 minutes.
Who do you think is going to win, Tucker? You always ask me that, so I thought I'd be a pain and ask you.
I think my money's going to be on Dahlmer just because he won the last race, and the momentum is in his favor. He knows these waters.
You know,
Matt Jerwood come in a little bit cold.
Well, you know what? I think if you know, just to keep it interesting, I'm going to bet you your post-race tequila that I'll take that bet. I'm going to see Matt Jerwood. At risk, obviously, I get heckled and thrown loads of bread rolls thrown at me in the commentary booth. But I think we'll take that end of day bet between commentators.
So will it be Nicholas Dahlmer or Matt Jerwood? Minute 15 to the start. We are on board with Jerwood.
See how light it is. Both boats really vying for the best position. 1 minute 5 to go. And it's Jerwood leading down the bank. I really like his positioning, actually. Very tight to the rocks. And it's gone lighter. And so that lead position, that bit more valuable. Just bobbing along in this kind of game of, it's a combination of sort of Fight Club and chess. Jerwood leading this pair down and along.
I've never heard that one. Fight Club and chess. I like it. 35 seconds to go. Both boats heading up towards the line.
Well, turning back now, Jerwood Trying to put the squeeze on. Dahlmer looking for a roll. The whole race really could be defined by this, and a great move by Dahlmer, sliding across the line of Matt Jerwood right when it counted. Just pulling the trigger beautifully there and getting in front of Matt Jerwood. Now he's got to execute from here. Final 15 seconds. Jerwood starting to turn the bow down, and it looks to me like Nicholas Dahlmer's got a little bit caught in the wind. Matt Jerwood bringing his bow down now, and Nicholas Dahlmer caught head to wind. Disaster has struck the Swede in a must-win match.
Oh no, Jerwood takes that to the bank and cashes the check that Dahlmer's just given him. He twisted things around, but then an unforced error. Head to win, and he still has yet to get his bow down.
And the number of heads that just crashed into their hands all across the grandstand was a bit of an Instagram moment. A shame I didn't have my camera out. But Matt Jerwood now leading this pair across. And, you know, Nicholas Dahlmer still hasn't crossed the start line. Just got his bow the wrong side of the wind. It's so easy to do in these light conditions. And he nailed it. He had it kind of pinned on, and then it just fell apart for him right at the final minute.
Oh, you know they'll be feeling the pain from that, but all credit to Matt Jerwood. Rounding mark number 1, out in front, 12, 13 boat lengths, the advantage over Nicholas Dahlmer in this final race.
So down the run with the Turkish Airlines boat, tracking in on the far shore now. The race course is getting very shifty. The race course is getting very patchy. And Matt Jerwood needs to keep his aerials up. He needs to be in receive, not transmit mode. Try and understand what's going on out there on the water. Turning down towards the bottom gate. He's through his jibe. Nicholas Dahlmer now jibing above him, looking to try and find an opportunity to attack. We know that the wind, when it comes, may well come from behind.
He certainly hopes it will. One thing we've learned today, no lead is big enough in these tricky conditions here in Marstrand.
You've got to think, you've got to kind of imagine that all those ancient Nordic gods that are kind of embedded into the rocks around the harbour here are right now just kind of shaking in their graves, turning their eyes out onto the water and just thinking, you know, maybe we'll just kind of turn a little bit of breeze on for Dahlmer now. So turning down, both boats through the jibe. Jerwood looking to lead down towards this bottom match. Absolutely critical here. Everything for both these teams resting in the hands of this race. Jerwood still with the lead. Dahlmer looking to try and find an opportunity to break back. But at the moment, it is still Matt Jerwood continuing to advance down and around the bottom gate, up onto the first full upwind. Heading off to the left-hand side of the race course. Nicholas Dahlmer now coming down. I think has at least one more jibe to go. I expect we'll see him go for a split, come in underneath the castle here, try and open up his opportunities to try and attack. But Jerwood has a big lead. That was a very costly mistake in the pre-start. That turned down, and it's gone very light on the race course. Weirdly, this could be an opportunity for Dahlmer. If it gets that light, it's more likely he has an opportunity for a big gain. But 2 jibes and down and round all the time. Jerwood continuing to advance around the racetrack. What can Dahlmer find? Whoever wins this competition, this race will stay in the competition. Whoever loses will go home. It is as simple as that. Winner take all racing.
Tied at 2-all. And having sailed so well in the pre-start, and he would have crossed the line and outsailed Jerwood into mark number 1 had he not given himself an unforced error and stuck head to win. Now it's Jerwood's race to lose. And he gets his bow into pressure first from the lower right-hand side of the racetrack, heading back upwind, leg 3 of 6.
Well, he's going for the unfurl over on the right-hand side. I'll tell you what, there is a big split on the water right now. Now, Matt Jerwood clearly in front. I wonder, Matt Jerwood not sailing the best of angles back there. He looks to be quite heavily knocked. And I wonder if that gives any opportunity for Dahlmer. Dahlmer is a bit slow, but it has closed right up. Dahlmer now slowly creeping back across. Perhaps, well, it's probably 4 or 5 lengths up the ladder of the course. As Jerwood actually looks for attack on top of Niklas Dahlmer.
Well, he's going for a very tight cover, but I wonder if that actually isn't going to help him. He's very slow out of that tack, and just have a look at Dahlmer with plenty of pace going through his lee. Still has better speed as Jerwood only just gets his boat up to speed on port. He spent a lot of distance to stay in this position.
I think it probably was the right move, try and lock this race down. But my goodness, it's handed an opportunity to Dahlmer. Both boats starting to move now.
It's not over, folks.
Very, very much more even. We talked about those Nordic gods getting involved, and I just wonder, they've just kind of just scooped their fingers underneath the water, underneath the hook of Niklas Dahlmer's dagger boards, and carried him forward.
And he's putting the pressure on Matt Jerwood. Tack for tack, Jerwood is covering. But better crew work and a better tack. And so far, a slightly better beat for Dahlmer getting back in this match.
You can see the crowd starting to get excited on the shore. They can see that this isn't done. The Swedish sailors never say die here in Marstrand. They know that better than anybody. We're looking at Matt Jerwood covering the line of Niklas Dahlmer upwind, who is copping quite a bit of dirty air there. They're neither of them laying the top gates, but they will be looking to do it in one. I think Dahlmer doing the right thing, just trying to stay with the race. Just keep it tight. One more tack from both boats. This will take us on to the second downwind. 3 laps to go here. 3-lap race, sorry. As Jerwood comes up into his tack. Mark 3 of 5. And Dahlmer still has some sailing to do. Jerwood very slow in the turns. It is super light out there on the race course. The tiniest differences in pressure for these turns making all the difference. And Jerwood around the top opens up the clock on Niklas Dahlmer, who has done a great job of closing it up a little at the top of this racetrack. Now is the time that Dahlmer needs to pick up a puff, find a way back in. I wonder if we'll see him look to jibe. Certainly picking up some nice pressure there. That's all Dahlmer needs to do to try and stay back in, flying the hull back across towards Matt Jerwood, who still has the lead, but he's slow. Dahlmer thinking about the jibe, but I think instead in sending to cross the line of Dahlmer.
Dahlmer's right back in this match.
Yeah, the shadow ominously passing over the line of Matt Jerwood from the mainsail of Niklas Dahlmer, who is picking up a bit of a lift, so he will be thinking about the jibe. Yes, he is. Down he goes into the turn. Now needs to pick up some acceleration out of this. Matt Jerwood will definitely be looking over his shoulder now as all eyes are glued out onto the water here in Marstrand. Can Dahlmer pick up some puff? At the moment, he's still slow. He needs the gains, and he needs it to come now. A great opportunity to break back. And a very different angle choice here from Dahlmer, sailing a slightly lower groove to Matt Jerwood, slower and lower. I quite like the line of Jerwood, actually. I think he's extended VMG, but we'll see when they come through the jibe. Dahlmer now starting to pick up some speed, and this cross is going to be critical. Matt Jerwood coming back on port, and Niklas Dahlmer will be coming back with that starboard advantage, and at the moment they're a little bit bow to bow with each other out there on the race course here in Marstrand. As Jerwood brings his bow down, will he have the cross? Dahlmer bringing his bow down as well, and it's going to be very close between these two, both boats coming together. Dahlmer is on starboard, just passing behind the line, but it's now a length or so in it, down towards the bottom.
You feel like the momentum has shifted to Dahlmer, even though he's behind. He seems to have somewhat of a positive flow going on right now. He keeps clawing into Jerwood with every transaction these two teams have. And, of course, we have only one more upwind and one more run to go. But Dahlmer is definitely on the attack, and he is reeling in Matt Jerwood.
Well, Jerwood, for me, in slightly better pressure on this near side. We'll see after he comes through the turn how slow he is. It's all about jibing where there's pressure so you have the wind to accelerate. That's that key transition on the race course. And Matt Jerwood going all the way to the exclusion, actually passing inside the finish mark here. So slightly affecting his turn as he turns up and round.
Look at the fans. Everybody's rushing to the left-hand side of the grandstands here, going to see who's going to be ahead at this next cross. This is big. This could be the moment of the match for Nicholas Dahlmer. He is in the lead, but he's on port. Under the rules, he has to give way.
Well, coming into this bottom mark, he has room, so he is entitled to room to round.
Look at that.
And he's actually not going to need to round. He's going to look to jibe in front of the line, and Matt Jerwood turning down, and we have that lead change. Matt Jerwood has lost the lead, and somehow, from somewhere, Nicholas Dahlmer has used that Swedish energy pulsing through the veins of Marstrand to find a way back round and into this race.
And
but it is like slow motion action warfare out there on the water right now.
You can feel the mood of everybody on shore lifting. They were up at that start, then they went down when he lost it. Now they're back up again. Now, can he hold on to this lead, or will Jerwood catch up? This is where everybody's sort of tenderly on the edge of their seat, looking to the left-hand side of the grandstands here, where they see Matt Jerwood tacking.
And you know what? The scary thing on the water right now is any one of these tacks, you could see one of these boats stop and the other one just sail away into a minute and a half's worth of lead. It's that sketchy out there. It's just going to come down to the finest details. The smallest things are going to decide which one of these skippers goes home. But at the moment, Dahlmer kind of has the momentum, deploying his Jenica and dodging yet another bullet, crossing from that left-hand side. The crowd's on their feet here, applauding every cross here in Marstrand, cheering on this Swedish team of Nicholas Dahlmer and ESSIQ Racing. I think this match is going to go down as really the race of the day. Everything at stake, everything to play for. But we'll see every one of these cross. You feel like someone could get a little puff that would define the race. Dahlmer coming out of his tack now. He is on starboard, but this is going to be close. Only a length or so between them at the last cross. Dahlmer now picking up some pressure. And I think he's just across again, but it's going to be close to Matt Jerwood picking up some extra puff now, bringing his bow down. And absolutely neck and neck in the middle of the penultimate leg of this race. The two boats cross in the center of the race course. Dahlmer to the left, Jerwood to the right. Who knows who is going to find the breeze?
I'll tell you, Jerwood is right back in this match with that close duck now. He'll also have rights when the two teams tack again. And I think he's got better breeze in his part of the race course to the right of Dahlmer, who's heading left, inshore, into a lull, under the headland.
This is a very risky moment for all of Swedish sailing, looking out their champion out onto the water. Dahlmer heading into light breeze on the left. Up on the right-hand side, we've just seen Matt Jerwood come through his tack, and actually it looks like the wind may have gone a bit left on Matt Jerwood. You see him there unfurling the Jenica, and it just still continuing to break. Now the moment of truth for Dahlmer through and up into his tack. How will these tacks be? It's a good one. A great tack from Dahlmer right when he needed it out the top draw. And look at that. A great tack, and he's got a little bit of that left hand. The left-hand shift that was punishing Matt Jerwood on the right-hand side has come back, and it is handed again to Nicholas Dahlmer over on the left. And what was the tightest duck of the race has now turned into perhaps a 3 or a 4 boat length up the ladder lead. And you know what? The Swedish fans here are just beginning to wonder, maybe it is going to be Nicholas Dahlmer through into the next round. Do we tempt fate?
Still a couple more tacks to go, though. It's not over yet for Matt Jerwood. Dahlmer now through the tack. It looks like a solid tack. Meanwhile, Jerwood will also tack left-hand side under the rocks. And again, Dahlmer looks stronger.
Dahlmer has just picked this. And you know what? There's something about this venue. I've watched Swedish teams do that over and over again, somehow finding that way of just staying in sync in some kind of natural chemistry with the whole race. And he's managed to do it around the top. Nicholas Dahlmer leading this pair down. Just a leg to go to the finish for the Swedish team. It was a do or die race. Whoever won this race was going to advance through. Whoever lost was going to be on an airplane ticket home. And it has been Dahlmer buried on the start. I mean, buried in a coffin 9 feet under. It was all over for him. And somehow he has found a way back.
Unbelievable. What a match. What a day. You know, I interviewed both of these guys this morning, and I asked Matt Jerwood to tell Nicholas Dahlmer what would it take to beat you today. And he said, well, I don't know. Well, I think we know now. It takes Dahlmer to have done just what he's done in this race from behind. And now he's extended his lead very comfortably. This is the final run to the finish in front of the hometown fans. He'll have another jibe or two to go. And Jerwood now just rounding the top mark. It's not over. We know that from watching all these races here in Sweden. There's more breeze to the trailing boat. Dahlmer looks a lot slower than Jerwood at this point of the race. He's just got to get his bow across that finish line.
Tense times, tense moments, final few seconds of the match. Matt Jerwood threw his jibe over on that far shore.
Things are starting to look a little bit more comfortable now.
And bringing his bow down, coming up to that exclusion. I think we may well see 2 jibes from Nicholas Dahlmer here, turning down along the line of the exclusion. But as if to thank the crowd, as if to thank Marstrand and its fjord for this result, Dahlmer comes right across, right underneath the castle on his final run in towards the finish. And he has his bow down now. Perhaps he can taste that place in the quarterfinal.
Now this is the moment, folks, where everybody here in Marstrand is going to have to cheer this boat across the line. Let them hear you from all across the shoreline. Here in the VIP lounge and in the grandstands. This is your team. This is Sweden's team. This is Nicholas Dahlmer and crew sealing the deal over Matt Jerwood 3-2 to move on into the quarterfinals of the GKSS Match Cup Sweden.
I mean, what a performance from ESSIQ Racing. Down and through the line, and you know what? They just can't believe it. You can see it in their faces. They are breathing a sigh of relief. And you know what? That was the race of the day for me, the team of the day. Nicholas Dahlmer proving he can win, proving they have what it takes as a team. And we have our first Swedish team through and into the quarterfinals.
And certainly kept us guessing the entire time.
Well, he kept himself guessing along now after that start. I wonder what odds he would have given on himself.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Didn't we have a bet on that race, Simon? Speaking of odds, I believe we did.
Okay, well, I owe you a tequila. They're probably pretty expensive out here. Maybe I'll get you one someplace else.
So Nicholas Dahlmer has done it, and he's joined an illustrious group that will move on into the quarterfinals here of the GKSS Match Cup Sweden. Let's take a look at the scores as they stand after today's racing, or the results rather overall. So here we go. We've yet to see a few teams racing. That's why they're on 0-0. But Nicholas Dahlmer, you just saw, wrapping up Matt Jerwood 3-2. On to the next page. We'll take a look at the scores from the other 4 races. David Gilmore, 3-0 over Sally Barkow. Chris Steele, 3-0 over Johnny Burnson. Peter Jan Postma, 3-1 over Torvar Mirsky. And finally, Jan Gashord wrapped up Sam Gilmore 3-0. There's a look at your scores, and we have more action to come here tomorrow in Marstrand, Sweden. So Jan Gishard, David Gilmore, Chris Steele, PJ Postma, and Nicholas Dackheimer will go on into tomorrow. Meanwhile, we have yet to see Canfield facing Holmberg, Snow against Robertson, and finally Price will sail against Williams. And that wraps up some fantastic action here in Sweden. I'm Tucker Thompson along with Simon Shaw. Tomorrow we'll be live on Facebook in the morning and then 2 p.m. local time, both Facebook and WMRT.com. Live broadcast 2 p.m. here in Marstrand, Sweden. Thanks for joining us and stay tuned tomorrow. The GKSS Match Cup Sweden continues.